The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hello and a warm welcome to our M365 Con third part Power Platform stage con. So welcome. Today our speaker here is Simon Owen. His topic is defining your roadmap to functional value from AI business solution. A warm welcome, Simon. And yeah, you could start.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me. So let me just share my screen. So as you've just heard, so my session today is about defining your roadmap to Fun-ancial Value with AI business solutions. So this isn't probably a term that you've heard before. So what I'm going to do over the next 45 minutes or so is take you through a bit of an introduction to me, to the topic, and then we're going to go through a few different parts. So we're going to have a look at financial value. Now that probably sounds pretty familiar. I'm going to introduce you to fun and how that translates into value. And then we're going to bring those things together into this Fun-ancial Value concept and idea and show you how to build a roadmap on it. So hopefully we're going to have a bit of fun along the way, introduce you to some different ways of looking at things and thinking about things. And then you'll go away with a load of new ideas on how you might bring something like any of the AI business solutions tools to life in an organization. So that could be Power Platform, it could be Copilot Studio, could be any of those tools. So let's jump in. So I'll give you a bit of an introduction. So some of you may have seen some of my sessions before. So I've been in the Power Platform space for about 8 years now in different forms, either in a end user organization. I worked in life sciences, in pharma for 16 years. And then the last 5 years or so, I've been in the partner world. So previously with Avanade and now with Capgemini. And across that time, I've been part of the community. So I've been blogging, I've been speaking, I've been kind of working with the Microsoft team a bit. And then this last 12 months, just over 12 months, I've also been a Microsoft MVP, which is very cool as well. So hopefully I know some of you from that. But I often talk about things like governance and enablement. And you may have seen my blog and how I scribble pictures. So you'll see more of that today. So hopefully that'll feel familiar and show you some nice insights. Now, this topic, this Fun-ancial Value thing, where did it come from? What does it mean? So it came from, like all good ideas, it came from a typo. So I was just typing away. I meant to type financial. And actually I put Fun-ancial and I thought, hang on a minute. This is interesting. This is something that I can do things with. So it made me think of kind of some of the implementations of Power Platform that I've done with clients, but also back to my time at GSK, where it wasn't a long, boring program. It wasn't super structured throughout its life. Actually, there's a lot of opportunity to have fun here. And by working in a different way, empowering people in a different way, actually we can unlock value in a really different way as well. So I came up with, well, I say Copilot came up with a definition for me based on some ideas that I've had. So you can see here, Fun-ancial Value. It's an adjective, so it's a description of something, and it relates to the measurable business value unlocked when employees feel energized and empowered by community, recognition, and game-like experiences that make work enjoyable, fun, while improving outcomes, which commonly is the financial bit. So over the next few slides, couple of chunks, I'm going to share some ideas with you, show you some videos, try and bring this to life for you a little bit. So let's start with something familiar, that probably is familiar at least, the financial value part. So often when we say, we're going to implement the Power Platform, we're going to implement Copilot, we're going to implement agents, the first question by our CFO, our CIO, our CDO, anyone, operations officer, is, well, why are you going to do this? And commonly what they're really asking is, well, how much money is this going to save me? Is it going to save me time? Why should I be worried about this? Or why should I be interested in this? So from a finance value, commonly it's about, well, what are the processes that I'm going to transform, and what's the impact of doing that in a different way? And you can see a few different ways that this financial value comes to life in a business case, or in a conversation, or whilst trying to pitch it as an idea. Often somebody will be talking about the financial value, and it might be directly in terms of cost. So you may say, well, it's going to reduce our costs from what to whatever. It's going to allow us to do things smarter. We're going to be able to decommission those old licenses. We're going to be able to save people's time. But a lot of this stuff comes back to financial measures. But you can see that there's other ways that we can describe those financial measures. So one is the cost, reduction in cost. One is a reduction in time. So we're helping people do things faster. We're getting to impact faster. We're getting to value faster. We're condensing processes into a shorter amount of time. So we need less resource effort to put into them. It might be that we're increasing output. So that financial value might mean that we can do more. We can get better things through our supply chain, or we can act on more ideas or more improvements. And through those things, that might be through reducing waste. So we're doing things right first time, we're improving data quality, we're helping people remove some of those rework steps from their processes. And that's linked with that quality improvement as well. All of these things come together to describe a financial impact. Now, in order to get an implementation off the ground, often there'll have to be some kind of business case, and it might be formal, it might be informal initially as part of a conversation. But one element of that business case, and the piece that I kind of want to pull it back to in this context, so if we think about it as part of a tech implementation, which of course isn't the whole picture, the driver should be the business implementation and the business impact that comes out. But when we're implementing the platform, those controls about, well, where do we sit it? Who's going to look after it? What solutions should we build on it? Where does it fit in our tech stack? All of that stuff comes through the enterprise architecture team. They need to be defining what that looks like. So on this page, I've called that out as a key part of our business case. And you can see a few different parts that I've pulled out there. So when we're crafting our business case, we might be thinking about legacy platform replacement. So it might be that we've got some old workflows that are on ServiceNow. We've worked out that actually the license cost for that, we could do it faster or quicker or lower cost within Power Platform. So maybe it's a legacy platform replacement, or maybe it's because we've got a really aged system. It costs us a lot to support it. The knowledge for that is getting harder and harder to find. So it's more specialist. It's costing us money to do. So maybe we want to bring it onto a more modern platform. Now, kind of tied in with that, there's potential for app modernization. So we may have some really old solutions, might be in Excel, might be in Access, it could be in an old ERP system, but there's an opportunity that we're exploring to look for the financials to move that onto a modern platform, create a solution that's actually tailor-made to what that end user needs to do. And we're going to modernize that process, streamline that process, improve it all as we go. But equally, we may have a backlog of loads of stuff that we think, there's huge amounts of value wrapped up in this. Our current tech stack, it doesn't really lend itself to helping us with this. So it might be that we've got an ambition to develop some new solutions, and we think that some of these tools are the right place for it. So we can describe that strategy of the vision is the business part. The strategy is starting to get into how are we going to deliver it? Where does it fit? Who is it important to? And then the other part of that puzzle that I've called out is that return on investment. So for return on investment, we've got some costs and we've got some value. And ideally, we want to be able to demonstrate that value is bigger than the costs are going to be. So it's worth our while in doing these projects. So it's a very simple set of sums that you have a look at your costs, you have a look and model what your value or your expected value is going to be, and then hopefully you can demonstrate, our value is going to be 10 times the costs or whatever it may be. And what I've tried to show here is some of those examples of what those could be. So for costs, it could be licensing, it could be those resources supporting an old system or app. For value, it could be the value wrapped in those use cases. So trying to do things faster or trying to improve the quality or improve the output. And then there's also the question of scaling it. So we want to be able to get as much of this value out for as minimal costs as possible. So in the case of the financial value, if we're looking at more the process side of things and where the improvements are going to be in the business because of that, scaling it starts to become a bit more mathematical. So it's either looking at, where are my processes with the most users or the highest cost users, or the most number of times this process is executed, or the biggest value of execution. What process helps me enable the most value for my organization? So by looking at the business, understanding some of those levers that we can pull, we can start to also model what the scaling of this thing looks like. So that's all probably pretty traditional. It's probably quite familiar to you, hopefully. And it's conversations that you probably have nearly every day in some form or another. But this fun bit, this is where we're going off the track a little bit, and we're thinking about something a little bit different. So why fun? Why is it important? How does that transfer into value? So I'm going to show you a little video in a minute, and you'll see. I don't know if you know this guy. He's a UK comedian, Jimmy Carr. I put this little parental advisory explicit content. There's a few swear words in there. It's not too bad, but if you've got young or sensitive ears around you, if you cover their ears, maybe cover their eyes because there's subtitles as well. But I'm just going to play a 2-minute video, which I saw just a couple of weeks ago that I thought really fits this topic really well. So I'm hoping that you will.
Was I funny as a kid? Fucking hilarious. But everyone was funny when they were a kid. Every one of you was funny as a kid. You just fucking stop. We don't stop playing because we get old. We get old because we stop playing. And this is play. This is play. I'm of the opinion we are the playing animal. Everything in society that we love, the whole of society itself is based on play. Like if you drop one human in the jungle, right, you've fed the animals. Drop 10 humans in the jungle, you've got an apex predator. Our great advantage is working together, cooperation. And cooperation is downstream of play. We learn to work together through playing. Anything you give a fuck about is play. Whether it's sports you go and see, whether it's theatre, whether it's comedy, whether it's music, playing is everything. And the reason you're here this evening is you might think naively I'm the only one performing. You're all performing in the audience. We're all playing our part. It's just fun, isn't it? I love it. More play.
So I really loved that when I saw it, because I was preparing for this session and I was thinking, well, how am I going to get this across? Nobody wants to hear me speak for 45 minutes non-stop. And this really jumped out at me. So this is a key message. This is something that doesn't always happen at work. I think a lot of us go to work, we put on our work hat and our work face and our work clothes, and we act all worky, and we lose a little bit of ourselves. So I thought this was a really nice way of thinking, well, okay, well, everyone that we work with on a daily basis, be it colleagues, manager, reports, clients, we're all human. We're all here to have fun along the way. It's nice that we come to work and we make a big impact, but sometimes it feels like the play bit, the fun bit, goes missing. And when I saw this and thought about what I'm going to talk about today, this is a key thing. So the way that we can make us successful, and that's all of us as a team, when we're embedding or implementing some of these tools in an organization, is you can go in and say, well, okay, well, I'm going to define some processes, and then I'm going to do a pilot, and then I'm going to do it with this small team, and I'm going to gather feedback, and then I'm going to improve the process, and then and all that stuff's fine. But it's recognizing that there are different ways to do it, and sometimes depends on what you're trying to do. So a lot of the time when we're trying to implement some of these AI business solution tools, it's not like rolling out Teams or SharePoint Online across a whole organization where it's very much a push to everybody to use it. This is more of an opt-in change at this stage, at least. We know how important some of these tools are and the impact they can have on processes and people and their career and organizations. But most of the time, we're trying to show people what the value is, what the impact is, why is it important to them, why should they be interested? And one way of doing that is through this concept of play. We lose it a lot at work, but we don't have to. We can do this in some fun ways. So you heard Jimmy talk about play leading to, I think he used cooperation, but collaboration. If we consistently do that, that starts to change the culture and how people interact and who interacts with who. And in his example, well, there's an evolutionary benefit to that. In ours, there's an organizational benefit where people start to work more broadly. They start to share their stories. They start to laugh more and look at problems in a different way and start to look at those as a challenge that they want to grab. So we're just going to have a look at some of that. So these are some of the types of value that we could use to describe that fun, or that might come to life through that fun. So when people are having fun, they're happy to experiment. They're happy to go out there and explore. The experience of being at work may be improved. It might be more fun if we're having a bit of a laugh and we're solving problems in this different way. We might see that people start to own their own development a little bit more. So some of the value that we get out of that is that their skill level and their capability goes up. The way that they solve problems changes, and they're looking for these opportunities to connect the tools to the business problem and then take something from themselves to sprinkle the magic on there and then make the difference. All of that stuff starts to empower people to work in a different way if we do it right. And as a result, their motivation goes up. They feel more in control of their career. They might develop more career opportunities because these different ways of working may be valued and identified. And so their innovation might go up as well. So they've got this extra set of tools in their toolbox that they can tap into to solve some of these problems. And as a result of all of these things, their happiness goes up as well. So we can think about how fun then translates into value as well. Now, these are different types of value than we were talking about before. These aren't necessarily pounds or euros or dollar value. They're more people-related value. Now, we can also build a business case around this element as well. So from a strategy, every organization has some form of people strategy, and the bigger the organization, the bigger the strategy. And these aren't all of the elements of a people strategy, but I did a bit of research, and these were some that really leapt out at me, that I think if we consider how we use these tools and how we want people to use them and the culture that we want to wrap around it, these are some really key areas that this can interact with or support. So some of those is kind of the leadership and people opportunities or operations. In order to make this happen, we need leaders who are willing to kind of experiment and do things differently and empower their people to do things. But that's not just a people relationship leader. That's all of us. We're all in some level of control of what we do. So we want to try and inspire that type of leadership in everybody to show how we can experiment and we can explore. We want to build it into our talent processes. So there's certain skills that we might want to develop. There might be certifications that we want people to do. We might then see that reflected in their performance and their capabilities. So we may have targets for people on saving X amount of time or increasing output by Y amounts, number of units. So we can start to incentivize people to make that connection between the tools and the platforms and those business outcomes. And then there's the culture and enablement bit, so engagement piece and the employee experience. So for me, this is the kind of real crux of this. This is where we are either very successful, moderately successful, or not successful at all. So ultimately, what we want to try and do is change how people think and act. And you'll know from experience, I expect, it's not easy. It's not quick either. So it's important to have it in here. It's important to be conscious of it, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight. So kind of something to keep people pushing and challenging and exploring is really important. So that's another piece where this fun element is really important. Now, we can also look at return on investment as part of crafting our business case as well. So we've still got the costs, we've still got the value. In terms of costs, where still people need to be paid, there's still some resources costs. There's some licensing costs, perhaps, where we need to give them some licenses for these new tools. But there may also be some training costs. It doesn't have to be that everything is a classroom session or a Microsoft certification. There's loads of different other ways to build your capability, coming to events like this, looking at the community, going to user groups, researching yourself, getting out there and just trying to solve problems and hitting boundaries, overcoming them, keep going. There's all sorts of ways to build that, but there may be some training costs along the way as well. And then the value that comes out, a lot of those things that you've just seen in the strategy side. So improve talent, it might be talent attraction, it might be talent retention. So keeping or attracting those people that want to work in that exciting place and do things in different ways. Some of that value is building that capability, not just for today and to solve today's problems, but also to solve the challenges of tomorrow and tomorrow's tomorrow and 5 years' time, as this march of AI comes in and disrupts all of our jobs in different ways. So it's important to build that capability and show people why it's important. Now, it's also that value comes through in the number of problems solved. And these are generally the smaller problems that aren't solved at an enterprise level. They're where we can empower people to solve their own problems. By doing that, we can start connecting people, bringing them together into a community, sharing some of those stories and sharing that success and showing that anybody can be successful if they come with us on this journey. And it's those elements that start to then shift the culture. It starts to show people that careers can be changed, or bigger bonuses could be gained, or maybe a bigger pay rise, or roles outside the organization even. So by doing these things, we're starting to show that return on investment. But scaling is different. It's not just a matter of identifying big complicated processes and making them simpler, or looking at the things that lots of people use. There's a different way of looking at it from this perspective. Now, this gives you a bit of a view on what that scaling looks like. So on the left-hand side, you'll see there's a cycle, and the message here is really, you can start really small. All this stuff is an experiment to start with. You can, and you'll see in the lead and establish part, this is about trying to set some new behaviors, and that's for people leaders, it's for individuals who lead their own pieces of work, it's about anybody who might be a champion or maybe just a practitioner. And we want to take these people on a quest. So it's different to taking them on a journey. So you may have heard people refer to, well, it's a bit of a journey, this piece of work. And for me, journeys are predictable. So it's me driving from southwest of London to Birmingham. I know the route, I know the roads, I know where it's likely to get busy, I know what most of the risks are, and generally 99.9999% of the time it will go to plan. There might be a bit of traffic, but I'll get there safely. A quest is different. So for me, a quest is more like, we're going to go to Mount Doom and throw this ring into that volcano and destroy it. Don't know quite how to get there. We don't know what we're going to encounter on the way. We don't really know what skills we might need. It's a lot less certain, but also it's a lot more exciting. So all of those people are there, they've got that shared vision, that shared commitment of where they're trying to get to. There's not guaranteed success. We may get stopped along the way. We may lose the ring. We may get killed in the Lord of the Rings example, hopefully not at work though. So it's different. We need to have a different way of inspiring people to go on this quest. And I guess the quest is pretty much like most people's careers. There isn't a defined end point of where we're trying to get to. There's not always a clear path, or rarely a clear path. So it's about trying to excite people and coming along on this journey and kind of, you have my power app and you have my flow. And it's very much like the Lord of the Rings example, but much better acted, I think. Now, we need to also enable people. And I always describe this as not necessarily like the things that they need to learn. It's more about how to learn. So how do they use the platform? What kind of scenarios might they use it in? How do they break down problems into across a process into chunks and analyze where the best use of the tools are? How can they learn how to interact with stakeholders or how to bring people along with them? There's a load of different skills here that we might need to empower people with to enable this to happen. We need to explain why is it important as well. So what that value is, not just to the organization. What is that? What's that important to me as well? Well, we need to show them that how to be successful, but also that anybody can be successful by putting in the time, by making the connections, by helping people along the way themselves, by solving problems. We can all be successful. We're all here because we're successful already. And then we need to embed that. So in many organizations, we talk about people centricity, and I suppose there's good intent there, but we don't always put the person at the center of everything that we do. Often we have the business at the center of everything we do, and then we work out how do the people sit around it. But something like this, we can kind of challenge ourselves to think differently. Of course, we can't throw away the business needs. We've got to have that in there. But when we're interacting with individuals, what is in it for them? Why would it make their life better? How can we help them improve their career or give them different options? And how can we help them come to work and actually have a bit of fun? work together with a team of people who they may not work with day to day, build that community, make those connections, kind of get recognized for doing something special and solving problems that were there and nobody saw or nobody knew how to fix, and then help celebrate them, tell those stories of what they've learned and how they've applied it, tell the stories of the solutions that they've built. And that might be across your team, it might be to the person's manager, it might be across a whole function, it might be to the organization, it might be coming to user groups, it might be talking at conferences and telling the story of what you've done or what people have done. So there's all sorts of ways that we can start to make this stuff more fun. Now, we've spoken about financial, we've spoken about fun and the value associated with that. How do we bring this stuff together? Now, as I said, for me, this is a cultural problem. This isn't an overnight thing. It's not something that we can fix just by clicking our fingers or introducing perhaps some new roles, although in some cases that may help. What we're trying to do is unlock all of that energy across an organization by creating a fun workplace, open people's minds to challenging and interesting work that they're kind of empowered to do themselves. We're trying to connect people across an organization that may not generally day-to-day speak together or work together, might be in different business units, might be in different geographies. And we want to show in that culture that everyone can win. It doesn't matter what level of the organization, doesn't matter what role you're in, everyone has the opportunity to do something different, come to work, have some fun, solve some problems, deliver some value, make some impact in their organization. So what we're trying to really steer by this is people who are inspired to come on this quest with us. So not really having a clear endpoint or what they're going to get out for it, but inspired enough to know that people have been on these quests. They've had some really good times. They've met some amazing people and they've done some really cool stuff. Show that they're supported. So it's not that when something goes wrong, you get shot and you get thrown in a big pit. It's about supporting each other. It's about recognizing that by putting yourself on this quest, things are going to go wrong. You're not going to solve every problem. You're going to hit barriers that can't be overcome. But coming out of that is still knowledge, it's still experience, it's still passion and the ability to go again and look for the next problem to solve. It's about people creating those solutions that do deliver financial value. They do cut that time. They do improve the quality or the output, or they do reduce the waste. So reward them for that and shout about it as well. Recognize them for doing that cool stuff. And we can think about that by using this total experience model. So you've probably heard about customer experience and maybe employee experience. This is a picture from Gartner where they talk about total experience, where these things actually are codependent. They interact. The closer the employee and the customer in this context get together, the better the information flows, the closer the data is, the more clarity there is on where the value is and what the importance is. So if we took that same context and say, well, the customers, they could be the customers of the solutions that we're building. But equally, they could be the community that we're building. And if we just think about those two lenses, we start to think, oh, okay, well, what does the customer need? So in the community sense, what information do they need? What stories do they need to inspire them? What connections do we need to build? How do we bring kind of governance folks or architects in there where it's not just developers or citizen developers? How do we get the right people in here? So it's thinking about that end state and those tools that people need, but also thinking about the individual and putting them at the center of having fun as well. How do we make it fun? How do we make it challenging and exciting? How do we can we empower them and be collaborative? And how do we make sure that everybody wins? So if we get this stuff right, these are some of the ways that this can present itself in an organization. So you may see that a lot of that shadow IT, or that process that's dependent on Bob doing it right every time, and when he goes on holiday, it's dreadful. Well, perhaps that risk starts to come down because we're sharing and we're collaborating across some of those problems. Perhaps our leaders start to get more recognition on how they can use Copilot or agents in their part of the business. They're starting to tell the stories of their employees. They're starting to paint a picture of why this stuff is important across the organization. The leadership of these initiatives starts to broaden. It's not just the IT team forcing some tools in or operations trying to do something. This is recognized on a broader level. It might be that we get really exciting new talent wanting to come to our organization because they've heard about this different way that we work, or this exciting place where there's loads of people having fun and solving problems along the way. And all of these things, we can bit by bit start to see the change in the culture as we go as well. So the roadmap, how do we distill all this complexity into a nice simple plan where we can go from the Shire to Mount Doom? Unfortunately, we can't. So there are still challenges. We can bring these parts together and start to think about more broadly on what this strategy piece looks like. So we can think about, well, where do the tools fit in the organization? What kind of problems are we going to focus them at? How do we look at the people strategy and make sure that the right people are trying to solve the right problems in the right way, or that we're bringing in the right talent, or we're growing the right capabilities for the future, or that bit by bit we're trying to move the culture in the right way? That's all great. We probably do a lot of that already. We can think about that culture piece and think, well, okay, well, how do I build that into my plan? So we can take it back to that establish, enable, embed piece. So we need to establish that it is fun. I can show you how people are having fun and why they're having fun and how in control they are of solving some of their own problems. We can show that it's acceptable as well. Things have gone wrong. We haven't beaten someone and thrown them in a pit. We've kind of all learned from it. We've promoted our mistakes. We've learned the lessons across the wider group. It's part of how we work. It's a quest. We're going to learn as we go. We can show the impact and show why are these things important, show the financial value that we're delivering. This is all about helping people understand the why. It's not so much about the how. The enable is when we get into the how and think, well, how do we help people have fun? How do we help them learn the right stuff in the right way? And how do we help to deliver that impact so that we're all as successful as we possibly can be? And then how do we embed that? How do we promote it across a wide group of people so that they can all see the opportunity here? We can make this movement valuable. We can drive competition between people. So we're trying to solve problems and outdo each other by making more value or having bigger people impact. And how do we show that everybody can win? So just because I've done well, it doesn't stop you from doing well. It's about us collaborating and actually helping each other. The worst thing that we can try and drive is negative competition. This is about collaboration and those 10 people in the jungle being the apex predator that Jimmy Carr was talking about, not just all of us as individuals getting eaten by tigers or lions or bears. So all of this is a people problem. And it's not something that we always consider, I don't think. Again, I found a really nice video. So I don't know if you've seen this guy. His name's Rory Sutherland. And he's the vice chairman of Ogilvy, the big marketing agency. And I love his content. I don't always agree with it, but he's written books. He pops up on my Instagram feed quite often. And he's got a really interesting way of looking at things. So one of the examples he gave was about the Eurotunnel from London to Europe and how to improve the service. And lots of money had been focused on the engineering of, well, how do I make it half an hour quicker? His idea was, well, that will cost you £1 billion. For that money, you could give everybody on board a bottle of Petrus wine or champagne on every journey, or you could have them served by supermodels, or whatever the answer is. It's so you don't care whether it's 30 minutes quicker. It's about how we change people up here. And this was a really nice video that popped up. It's just over a minute long, and it talks about the Royal Mail service in the UK and how they improve the service. But I want you to listen to it through that lens of what we've been talking about, and think about, okay, well, it's not always about the things that we deliver or the metrics that we impact. Some of the biggest impact we can have is by thinking about the people and the culture side. And this really brings it to life nicely.
Fantastic man called Alex Batchelor, used to be the marketing director of Royal Mail. They could never make sense of their customer satisfaction figures because they didn't correlate at all with service performance. There were areas where mail didn't arrive very reliably, it was late, it was hopeless. People loved Royal Mail. There were other areas where their service was absolutely spectacular and people were pretty indifferent. And they were trying to correlate the quality of the service with customer appreciation. It didn't make any sense. Someone had a different idea. It turned out that the vast majority of people's perception of Royal Mail was driven by one thing only, whether they liked their postie. Simple as that. Regardless of how reliably the mail arrived, all the things they were spending billions on were making no difference. Meanwhile, the guy who'd actually leave something round the back because I knew you were away on holiday was a total hero. Never forget that an individual person with the discretion to take intelligent contextual action is worth 1,000 algorithms. And we're in danger of forgetting that. So that's my final call to action. Rather than trying to change the world, change how people see the world, because when people see the world differently, they behave differently, and that changes the world.
And I loved it when this popped up, because I thought that's it. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the world. We could throw money at it. We could put roles at it. We could put licenses in there. But actually, we can make so much impact by just considering that person-to-person or person-to-community impact. And how do we use that when we're trying to enable an organization to think differently, act differently, and ultimately, with consistency, change the culture? So
Fantastic, man.
I'm just going to leave you with one final thought, and this is possibly by Peter Drucker. I found some conflicting information, but it kind of really lends itself to what Rory was talking about, and some of that part around thinking, well, how do we solve things differently? And the quote, as you can see, is culture eats strategy for breakfast. So we can put as many plans in place as possible, but if we don't think about the people and how they interact and how we interact with them, then we're not going to change the culture, and we may not be as successful as we can be. So we really need to think about how we implement tools like these and really make the biggest impact as possible. So hopefully there's been some different ways of looking at things that you might not have seen before. Hopefully I've made you laugh a little bit along the way, or you've enjoyed the videos. But thank you very much for your time, and thank you for attending.
Okay. So Simon, as was great as ever. Great presentation, I think. So we have a minute left for one question. So because all the Power Platform guys in the crowd have one question, I think. How will change vibe coding? Yeah. Which is vibe coding. First, I would say first our consultant side, from a consultant side, and the second from the company side. I think 2 questions are very good.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting. So I've not done much experimenting myself, but I know people that have, and they've created some amazing tools, things that they wouldn't have been able to do without this. So the way that I'm looking at it, so if I think about it from the kind of company side, from the client side a little bit more, what I think we'll probably see, as long as we get the governance and guardrails right, is that we're low-code lowered that barrier to entry for people to be able to solve problems in clever ways. I think what we'll see is that barrier to entry is just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and the type of impact they can have is getting amplified. So they could create much more complicated tools, and that's why I kind of put the caveat in there that we need the right governance and guardrails in there, because we could have something really magical and transformational, or we could have something that destroys organizations. So we need to be really mindful on getting our data right, getting our security right, putting the right guardrails so that the right people are doing the right things. So I think that'll be really exciting over the next 5 years or so, especially. I think it'll be unrecognizable. From a consultant perspective, there's a couple of angles on this, I guess, isn't there? So I think it places even more importance around that governance and guardrails part, because it's not as easy as it needs to be at the moment. I think Microsoft have made leaps and bounds over the governance around Power Platform over the last 2 years or so. With Copilot, there's a load of different risks that we need to work out and put the guardrails around. So I think within consulting, there's still a lot of the technical part of helping enable a platform and do it in a safe way. There's still the people part that I've spent a lot of time looking at today. So bringing that experience of doing it with other organizations, I think will become even more valuable. The technical piece should get easier. The people part and the relation part and the culture part, I think, is going to always be a challenge for a lot of people for the foreseeable future, at least. And then I guess there's the solution development part. I think it's really interesting that. So there's an element of me that thinks, well, not exclusively the offshore model, but if we think about the offshore model as a way of having lots of high quality, really capable resources to develop solutions at low cost, I'm really interested to see what kind of impact we see in that model through the vibe coding model, and how that gets impact, what that impact means in consulting. I think that could be quite disruptive. That's my prediction, at least. That's my gut feel.
So there's one important point for me. This would be I would say, break even. When is I would say, Canvas app deployment without Dataverse cheaper and easier to integrate without AI when? On the other side, the cost of Dataverse and I would say enterprise parts with AI, and one day we will have the break-even point on this diagram, and when said this is the day when Microsoft said, okay, you did not need any Power of X anymore, so it's all about vibe. You type in what you want and you get what you want. And when we heard it before, and when it's React or when it's an comeback of full stack in vibe, and this is the time in which we are living now. So we have a big change, and so the most of them didn't understand what is coming up to the consultants and to the customers, because if a customer can do anything what he want, and he say, I can prompt my app by myself, and I say, it's good, I make it. It's a big problem regarding to the security, as you said. So this could be fun. This could be really fun in the future for us consultants.
Yeah, we're on a quest, aren't we? We don't really know what the future looks like. We know the direction that we're kind of heading towards, but we don't quite know how to get there at the moment, I think.
So perfect. So we're running out of time, and first of all, thank you for your amazing session. I really like it. The next guest is Griffin Lickfeldt in 10 minutes with architect and agent with proven return on invest in Copilot Studio. So we make a short break and we see us again in 10 minutes. And Simon, have a nice day and see you soon.
You too. Thanks, everyone. Go and see Griffin. He's an awesome guy. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hello and a warm welcome to our M365 Con. Our next guest here on stage is Griffin Lickfeldt, and the topic of is architect an agent with proven return on invest in Copilot Studio. Hello, Griffin. Warm welcome.
Hello,
The stage
hello.
is yours.
What was that? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Let me go ahead and share. Hello, everybody. Let me go ahead. Okay, sweet. Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this presentation. And today we are talking about how to architect an agent with proven return on investment in Microsoft Copilot Studio. And just so you know who is talking to you at this point, my name is Griffin Lickfeldt. I'm a Microsoft MVP, Power Platform consultant, and Copilot Studio subject matter expert. I share most of what I'm learning online on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And I just want to say at the end of this presentation, I have a link to where you can get the PDF of these slides. So don't feel like you need to write every single little thing down or anything like that. I'm going to try to get you guys access to that as well after. Also, on YouTube, that went live this morning, at the end of this presentation, we're going to do a little bit differently where it's not just going to be 45 minutes of slides. I'm hoping to actually get into Copilot Studio. Now, this isn't a workshop, but I want to click around and show you a little bit of an agent. The agent that we're showing in that, I actually did a full step-by-step tutorial on how you can build that as well on the channel if you want more details, because we don't have time to go through all of that. I want to start off just by, I can't necessarily see the chat or anything like that, but I want to you ask yourself, or kind of get a pulse of the room of who has built an agent in any way. And then also on top of that, think about if you've built an autonomous agent before, right? An autonomous agent being not necessarily one that you're directly chatting with, but maybe one that runs kind of in the background that, like I said, is not necessarily a direct chatting experience. It's important for us to just kind of frame the rest of this conversation. As you all know, the objective for today, that was a part of the session description, we want to learn how to define, design, and build agents in Microsoft Copilot Studio that bring measurable business value through a return on our investment. And how we're going to achieve that as a part of this presentation, I recognize an agenda slide is not always the most exciting way to start, but I want to set expectations on what we are going to learn and how we're going to learn it today over the next 43 minutes or so. And so we're going to kind of level set in the first section on an agent overview, level set and break down what an agent is at its core. And then I want to reframe what it means to actually build agents at the enterprise grade scale. Then I want to talk about the kind of the proven return on investment. How do we move from gimmick agents or gimmick bots that don't do much for us to actually what agents drive measurable business outcomes? Take all of those things that we've learned and actually apply it to building agents in Microsoft Copilot Studio around agent architecture and talk about the 5 pillars that make up an agent in Copilot Studio. Then I'm hoping to spend as much time as we can at the end, hopefully around 15 minutes, to actually click around what those pillars look like in Copilot Studio that we just talked about as a part of the presentation. So that way we can take it from theory to practical execution in Copilot Studio. Cool? Sweet. So first section, agent overview. My hot take is that agents have actually existed for decades, okay? And what I mean by that is that having a tool that does something on the behalf of a person is not new. It has just existed in the form of automation, right? If we can boil down what an agent is, it's the ability to do things on behalf of people so that we can free them up to do potentially more important things. And that process of automation has existed. And I want to, let's demystify what an agent is at its core. I'm guessing most people are familiar with Power Automate, right? This is the low-code automation builder within the Power Platform. Fundamentally, it gets inputs in, whether it's receiving a new lead or receiving an email, somebody pressing a button in an app, any kind of change in a database. The automation, which is code, then takes that input, executes a series of actions, and produces an output. Now, if we think about agents are fundamentally, I'm not going to say the same thing, but fundamentally the same thing, right? agents built in Copilot Studio, how do they work? They get inputs in, they execute a series of actions, and they produce outputs. Now, how it's producing these outputs is very different. It's not, it's using some very cool new technology, and how that Copilot Studio agent is doing this and does it well is what we're going to help answer today in Copilot Studio. So this is not necessarily groundbreaking, but an AI agent is more than a chatbot or a content generator. They are systems that can do things and reason on behalf of people. And the cool part is about M365 Copilot, right, is that it's well integrated. And the cool part about Copilot Studio is that it allows anyone to create agents. Now, I say anyone to say now, it definitely still requires a level of expertise, but understanding the agent architecture, as we're going to discuss later, is the first step to do that. So now that we're kind of, okay, let's demystify what an agent is at its core. And again, this is just laying the foundation for the real value coming in the next couple of sections. Let's reframe our agentic strategy. Agents are only valuable if they are connected to things. And automation is no good if it doesn't talk to system, and agents are the same way. Agents are connected to logic, to documents, identities, meaning people, users, and databases. And think about, when we talk agentic strategy, what we're trying to understand here is, how do we apply this to the bigger picture? How do we help organizations think about going from 0 agents to 10,000 agents? And maybe the fact that agents aren't isolated and are connected to these things is, maybe it sounds like intangible theory, but what do I mean? Let's think about what a calculator is, just for 15 seconds here, okay? They serve a very specific purpose, right? They add numbers, they divide numbers, they multiply numbers, whatever, but they have no memory or context. And what I mean by that is, if you're adding 2 + 2, it doesn't necessarily know what those numbers mean to you. It doesn't know what its output actually means. It also doesn't know what you added together yesterday and what those numbers you added together yesterday mean for these numbers you're adding together today, right? Like, it's a very siloed tool to serve one specific purpose, but has no memory or context. Well, agents do. And the key takeaway is that these agents live inside enterprise ecosystems, not as standalone tools. And now I want to show 2 graphics that I proudly stole from the internet. You maybe have seen them before, but I just want to, show these 2 things to kind of hammer 2 points home. Okay. So here, this will show how Copilot is naturally connected to so many different things, right? Copilot in the center here, it's connected to the apps or the channels where your agents are deployed to. It's connected to your knowledge, to your data, in that kind of lower left-hand corner to help draw conclusions. And then it also is connected to the LLM and the actual information processor that makes all of these things work. This is the second graphic. As we think about enterprise AI, we need to be thinking about agents, plural, not agent. And exactly how companies have different people that do different things, right? You may have dozens or hundreds or thousands of people. They all serve very distinct roles to do very distinct jobs. We need to be approaching agents in a very similar fashion. And kind of like this is here, we may want to be building out a system of kind of connected agents in that sense. Now, let me be, some people are asking this question, or know people at their company that are asking these questions, is, don't agents make mistakes? Like, how can we trust anything agents do? Given the current state, is it really worth the risk for us and for most enterprises? Well, I want to talk about this and kind of reframe this mindset a little bit. And I'll be the first person to say, don't fear the capabilities, the technology. AI and LLMs are naturally less predictable. Yes, they're less predictable than code or Power Automate, as an example, but they are still very much controllable. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of tools available in Copilot Studio, and each of these have different limitations, and each of these have different levels of controllability. And understanding when to use each tool correctly is how you can have confidence in your AI agents. Like I said, in about 20 minutes or so, we're going to get into Copilot Studio, and I'll show you a couple of very specific examples of what it is I'm talking about. Now, just to kind of hammer this here, understand when to use each tool correctly is how you can have confidence in your AI agents. I want to also just give a reality check. If you're feeling like, oh my goodness, we're behind the curve, oh my goodness, all of our competitors are using all this stuff, just know that the fact you are in this room, the people in the orgs that are having these conversations right now are way ahead of the curve. This technology is hard to wrap our heads around, and these people were phenomenal to work with, loved working with them. But just last year, I had to explain to somebody what Microsoft Edge was. All right. So where we are with this sort of technology and actually implementing it in enterprise AI, like, you are more than ahead of the curve. Take a breath. It's okay. You're right where you're supposed to be. Okay. Let's actually get into the juicy part of the presentation here. Okay. So how do we move from gimmick bots to proven returns on investments, right? How do we move from general FAQ bots or daily check-in bots that aren't necessarily connected to anything and employees just end up stop using? Well, when I first kind of realized this concept that we're going to talk about in this section, it changed my outlook and definition of what a good AI use case actually is. And so a lot of people are asking, hey, what should be the focus of our AI initiatives? How should we be spending our money? What initiatives should we be focusing on? Where should we be investing time and resources? Well, every AI use case, in my opinion, falls into one of these two categories. The first one being saving money category, right? These are, how do we automate repetitive tasks? How do we get people to do their jobs faster? And how do we get more done without costing us more money? Okay. These can be great and bring large returns. I'm not going to try to take anything away from that. But the other side is, how do we use AI to make money? How do we start new revenue streams? How do we build AI tools that enable our sales members to do more, to learn faster, and to be better at their jobs? This is the mindset shift I want to put out there, because with money saving examples, you can only get so much juice. You can only get so much juice out of this lemon. And that AI is not just a cost cutting tool, but a growth engine. This is looks like that other one went away. I don't know why. Looks like my PowerPoint is bugging out. But that's okay. Okay, it just popped up. Perfect. Right. At Ignite, this term growth engine was something that I heard a lot. And this really got me thinking about, how can we use AI to best help grow our business? But as always, let's get practical. Let's share some real world examples and compare these to each other. So I did some research. I found some use cases on companies that use custom AI tools to save money. Okay. The first one here in this list being a Fortune 500 software company. They implemented a customer service enhancement agent, and they saw a productivity boost of 15% and even more with less experienced agents. DHL, they're like a shipping and logistics company. They built a logistics intelligence agent that ended up proving a 20% savings in fuel costs from driving around and delivering these things in the route optimization. And then there's a thing called FinRobot, or financial tech agent, that was connected to ERP information, and it proved to cut processing time by 40% and reduce human error by 94%, which is incredible. Now let's remember that 40% number. Here were some real world examples where people used AI tools to make money. Cisco had an AI sales enablement tool where they said increased sales revenue by 25%. Super AGI had something very similar, but kind of a host of different agents to help support sales, where they saw a 25% increase in pipeline growth. And then an e-commerce company created a personalized checkout experience agent, and they saw a 15% improvement in conversion rate and 25% increase in revenue growth within the first 6 months. Okay, so let's remember that 25% number there. Now, I want to plot all of these together and compare these as far as what they mean long term. So let's go into dreamland here. Let's imagine we're a company that does $50 million in revenue a year and $5 million in profit each year. You generally may see a 5% return on your growth in your business if you do absolutely nothing in terms of efficiency. And that means, people naturally get better at their job. They find little hacks. They train other people up alongside them. You see a 5% return or so, like I said, if you do nothing. Now, I recognize business is much harder than that, but nonetheless, you understand what I'm saying. Now, let's plot that 5%, do nothing baseline return compared to this 40% return on the money saving agent. Okay. So one important note is this has a diminishing return year over year. Now, I am not going to say that having a 40% return and going from $50 million to $70 million or $5 million to $7 million in profit is a bad start. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is year over year, you can only get so much juice out of this lemon. You're not going to be able to have a 40% return on your investment every single year. Naturally, people can only be so efficient. Tools can only do so much. And over time, you're going to see a decreasing rate of return. And where this really comes into play is if we now compare this to the 25%, so 40% return in savings compared to a 25% return on making, over the long run, it's not even close. Okay. This graph shows the importance of finding AI growth engines in your business and how over the long run, they're going to have much higher returns on investment. At about that 2.5-year mark, it no longer becomes close. So as we're thinking about what has the highest proven return on our investment when it comes to implementing AI into our enterprises, it's going to be finding those growth engine use cases for finding to implement those agents into those right growth engine use cases to help grow our business. Now, how do we find those use cases, right? So I recognize this slide breaks like every rule as far as good PowerPoint slides and word counts. But nonetheless, I've searched a bunch of different examples to help you get started with different ideas. And on the left, you can maybe find your industry or a business area that you maybe work in or are affiliated with, and find a couple of use cases there in the middle. And then what kind of business value those things may provide to kind of help get you brainstorming on what use cases you can implement into your business. Okay, so the real meat and potatoes of our conversation today, how to actually architect an agent. So as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of tools within Copilot Studio, but I think they can generally be boiled down into 5 core pillars of agents. And all of those tools fall into one of these categories, at least as a part of today's conversation. And these categories are behavior, knowledge, tools, topics, and accessories. Okay, so I want to go through what each of these 5 things mean and how they apply to your agents in Copilot Studio. Okay, so behavior. You can define how you generally want your agent to behave. What purpose does your agent serve? Should it talk professionally, or should it talk like a pirate, or anything else in between? Are there things that your agent should avoid talking about? In Copilot Studio, this is controlled by instructions, or at the top there, the definition, the central directions and parameters an agent follows. Good instructions have several key components. They're very clear and actionable. They outline the audience that the agent is going to talk to. Is this agent talking to HR reps, or is it talking to the executive finance team, right? Who is this agent serving? Who is the audience that it's talking to? Those other couple pieces are equally as important. A very important disclaimer here. A very important disclaimer here is that agents can act on instructions, or can't act on instructions to use tools, knowledge sources, other agents, or topics that the agent doesn't have. Okay, so outlining the instructions or the behavior of your agent can only do so much. Okay, and that's kind of why we have some of those other pillars that we're going to get into. But when we come back, as we continuously reiterate this controllability feature of agents in Copilot Studio, it's important to understand your instructions, the behavior of your agent can only do so much. It can't, if you tell it to use a certain tool, but that tool hasn't been connected to the agent, then it's not able to use that tool. And we're going to build out a little bit of kind of a graphic here so you can see these 5 pillars and how they're all related to each other. But the first one being behavior, this is really the foundation of our agent that then everything else is going to get stacked on top of. The second pillar being knowledge. Knowledge, think of it as the long-term memory of your agent. And let's imagine you're having a conversation, like in the real world, you're talking to a friend. The conversation you're having is, kind of on the forefront of your mind. It's on the tip of your tongue. You know kind of what to say and what exactly you're talking about. But say that friend brings up an old memory of you two from years ago. Think about what your brain is kind of doing. You're almost having to go and like retrieve that information. I mean, you can, right? You remember it, and now it's on the tip of your tongue, and now you can talk about it. But your mind has to go and get that information. It's not like it was already there. Think of knowledge sources as the same kind of retrieval for your agent. You can add countless types of knowledge sources, including websites, SharePoint, Dataverse tables, and a whole host of others that aren't necessarily included in this. And the knowledge source helps support the agent behavior in that this is going to give it more things to work with and more context of to who it serves. 2 disclaimers as well, right? Agents can only access knowledge that they're connected to. And then the second point there, and this is one that's one of the most important critical parts, is that agents can access knowledge sources through users' credentials. Now, what I mean by that, let's use a finance example. Let's say if I'm in finance and there's this, and I work in finance and I can't access necessarily like the HR department's files, right? Like I don't have access to those things, okay? Just in my company. Somebody builds an agent that has access to those files, assuming it's set up correctly. If I can talk to that agent, it's still not necessarily going to surface that information to me. What's really cool is that Copilot and agents in Copilot Studio are built on top of the Microsoft security infrastructure. And so it's still going to abide by the credentials and the access that I already have as the user chatting with it. Now, again, assuming these tools and connections and everything are set up correctly, which is important as we talk about architecture, but that is still very much, functionality baked into the system. Now, as I mentioned, the knowledge sources you can kind of add to the agent to help support the behavior. These are documents about what your company does, or maybe a product spec sheet, or any other additional information that you want your agent to have for that extra context or call upon when having a certain conversation. Then I want to talk about topics. And topics, in my opinion, are a little harder to understand, especially if you haven't played around with them in Copilot Studio yourself. But nonetheless, topics are structured conversation paths that guide the agent's responses for specific intents. I don't know if anybody has worked with the old Power Virtual agents or built a Power Virtual agent or built a Power Automate flow, but topics in Copilot Studio are very reminiscent of that concept. And it's saying when somebody says this in the text the agent this, do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. You can build out a conversation flow all within a topic. And topics acts as these containers for the topic of conversation. If that kind of helps clarify why they're called topics, right? Your agent can handle several different topics of conversation. Say you want your agent to be able to build a report, then you also want your agent to do X, Y, and Z. You generally want to think about having a topic for each one of those types of conversations that this agent can be having. Here are a couple of pointers on good topic design. So that they're very purpose-driven, and then as well that they're modular. You don't necessarily want to have huge topics. You also don't want to have huge agents that have 30 topics. And then also a fallback topic. What happens if I'm talking to this agent and it's inside of a topic and I dramatically change what I'm talking about because I stopped chatting, I got my answer, then I dramatically start talking about something else? What should happen in that scenario? How should our agent handle that and not get confused? All things to consider as we think about topics. So as I mentioned, topics are these containers. And the next couple of pillars that we're going to talk about will fit into these topics. And so for example, a spoiler, I've built a sales intelligence agent in Copilot Studio that we'll get to show here in a little bit. And it serves 2 main purposes, okay? One purpose is to create a sales intelligence report. So sales team members can go and say, hey, I need this report. And it can, use AI, process the database, and spit out a report. The other part is to help sales members focus on high priority items when they're not too sure what they should be working on or doing at the moment. And so those are two distinct things that our agent needs to be able to handle. And so we have created 2 topics that handle those 2 types of conversations, those 2 topics of conversation. These are 2 very distinct conversations that my agent needs to handle. And so, like I said, we'll show it when we get there. And inside of those topics is where some of the magic really happens with the tools and the conversation flow. Okay, tools. This is where you can add connections and the pieces that give your agent the actual powers to do the really cool stuff. Okay, Copilot has countless tools, and they all kind of serve different purposes, have different levels of controllability, and all of those sort of things. And so think about it, like, do we want our agent to be able to see email information, or even draft emails, maybe even send emails? Do we want our agent to be able to read Teams meeting transcripts? Do we want our agent to create and edit Excel documents or create pivot tables inside of our Excel documents? These are the tools that we think we need to think about adding to our agent, because tools is where the magic really happens. There's all sorts of different tools. There's connectors, prompts, flows, MCPs. We'll get into a little bit about what these are. I've used the word controllability a few times. And I want to break down this concept of deterministic versus indeterministic. Okay, so a minute here just to kind of hammer this home. So think of deterministic and indeterministic as a sliding scale. It's a spectrum. And we need to understand that different tools fall on this spectrum in different places. And understanding where they fall is very important. We'll showcase a few of these examples in the demo. But what do I really mean? Think of like if I keep using the example of a Power Automate flow, right? A Power Automate flow is code. It's very deterministic. It's expecting a certain amount or type or input that contains a certain type of content. Like, it's expecting something, and then it's going to execute a series of actions, right? It's going to follow this strict path no matter what. And if it gets confused or it breaks, doesn't work, it just stops. It's like, hey, fail. It's not going to work. Where AI is a very naturally indeterministic technology, right? Has the ability to hallucinate or do different things. It's naturally indeterministic, or could go off the rails a little bit. And so understanding where these tools, all within Copilot Studio, fall on this and how they fall on it, I guess, is going to be really important to know, so that we can make sure we're selecting the right tools for the job. Here's some key points that make good tool setup. So a couple that I want to call out is making sure they're relevant. All right, let's not connect unnecessary tools to our agent. If I'm building a finance department, a tool for the finance department, an agent, excuse me, for the finance department, is there a reason for it to be connected to HR data, right? Like I used that example earlier. Is there really a reason to have access to those SharePoint sites or Excel documents or whatnot? If there's not, then we should be proactive and having good tool setup and not adding those things. Okay. The scope, like, do these tools execute through the user talking to the agent, or do they execute through an admin's permissions or the person who set up the agent's permissions? And a little disclaimer, right? Kind of like you're seeing a theme here. Agents can only use the tools that they're connected to. Okay, so tools generally, I'll throw an asterisk on generally, are set up inside of the topics of our conversation, okay? And there's one more piece that's also going to go in there. That is accessories. So accessories, these are the additional elements that we can add to our agent that give it that extra pizzazz or that extra sparkle. These are still very much important and relevant, because these are the nice to haves that help drive end user adoption. And without adoption, right, if we're talking about proven return on investment, without adoption, there is no return on our investment. And so while some of the more fundamental behind the scenes pieces, the pillars that we've talked about, this may feel naturally less important, it's still very important to know and bake into your agents these different types of accessories that are in the platform. And this also is one of those slides that breaks the rules of word counts and everything there. But nonetheless, right, a couple that I want to highlight is using adaptive cards. Okay, make AI responses look prettier and have, instead of just being a huge big block of text, how can we add some emojis or some nice bullet points or some subheadings to this response? Variables help personalize the agent experience. So you could respond with the person's name. Hey, Griffin, I'm such and such agent, blah, 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 blah. Images, links, rich text. And another one that's also really cool is the code interpreter. So being able to create charts and easily digest analytical data and things like that. So understanding what tools is a bad word choice. Understanding what accessories are out there that are available to us that we can bake into our agent to help increase, give it that sparkle, give it that life, give it that enjoyability factor that we need to help drive adoption. So these are all ultimately going to fall inside of the topics as well. Maybe this is a screenshot worthy slide, but in a moment, we're going to actually hop into Copilot Studio. We're going to get in there and I want to show you how these different pillars all relate to each other on our sales intelligence agent that we've set up. Okay, so here's our example for today, just so everybody kind of understands what this agent does, who it serves. So let's say our company sells commercial grade coffee making equipment. I've been on a little bit of a coffee kick, I must admit, recently. So I went with this. Now, let's say we have about 30 employees in total, 6 of which are direct sales team members. And our sales team is highly collaborative on all the sales and customer interactions. All 6 people are responsible for all of our deals. So we've built a sales intelligence agent to help our sales members with the following things. We want to understand the company's current top priorities and why they are. We want to provide learning lessons from recently lost opportunities. We want to find any natural upsells and cross-sells to the current customers in our database. And then we want to help team members know what to be focused on in that moment as well. If they're confused on what to do, they log in, they don't have anything on their task board. Hey, agent, what should I do today? We want to be able to tell them what to do and which accounts to focus on. So if you want to, you can go to Copilot Studio here. I just wanted to show this. Now, this agent that I've built is not available to you. It's not a workshop, unfortunately. We don't have the time for that. But here is where you can access Copilot Studio and where I will be, where I've built this agent to kind of click around and show you as well. So, okay. Looks like that seems to be showing all right. Sweet. Okay, so here I am within Microsoft Copilot Studio. And as you click on agents, here I have my sales intelligence agent. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit as well because I think that's a little too far out. Let's zoom in. Okay. So as this is starting to load here, let's talk about our 5 pillars, all right? So the first pillar being behavior. And the main piece of that, as we talked about, are the instructions, okay? Now, your name and your description and your model certainly do play a part in the behavior, but we're not necessarily going to get into that as a part of this conversation. But you have what are called your instructions, right? And your instructions is basically an 8,000 character text box, okay? And if you remember some of those points around what are the best practices for instructions, right? We've aligned with those in giving it our agent a role. We've given our agent a primary objective, and that's to generate sales reports and use CRM data and these different things. We've outlined the core tasks to generate sales intelligence reports, as well as summarizing top opportunities and things. We've given it output rules. We've given it an audience and tone and all these different things. We've also given it kind of some ambiguity handling. What happens if it's not confident in its answer, right? What should it do? We don't want sales team members to be confident in an incorrect assumption that the agent made, right? And so we want it to tell the agents, hey, I might not be totally sure about this. Sorry. We want the agent to tell the team members, hey, I might not be totally sure about this. Check on it on your own. But, having that in there just helps helps support in the behavior of an agent that is really useful. And I think from a large language model perspective, having these sections doesn't necessarily improve performance dramatically. But from my perspective as a human trying to digest what this agent does, right, this is incredibly helpful to have it broken up into these sections. As we think about knowledge, I've added 2 knowledge sources to our agent here. Okay. And that is a product spec sheet and an about us statement about our company. And the reason why I have this is because I'm not expecting sales agents, sales team members, I need to stop saying sales agents, sales team members. I'm not expecting them to say, hey, what's our company do? Right? That's not what I'm expecting. They probably know, right? But I want our agent to have extra context as far as what our company does, what our mission statement is, what is, how we want to conduct ourselves and do business with others. I want our agent to have that extra context. And so then that way, as it's responding to sales team members, it's giving that even more context-aware responses to them that directly support our company's mission statement. And as well, if you click into these, making sure you add accurate descriptions to your agent or to your knowledge sources is really important as well, because this tells the agent when to go and reference this document, right? If the out-of-the-box one will just say, this knowledge source contains company about us, like it just puts the name in there. But make sure you update that to something relevant about what's actually the content of this document or any of your knowledge sources. I think provides a huge boost in performance. I also just want to call out, we have strategically not connected to Dataverse as a knowledge source. We're using Dataverse as kind of where we're storing all of our accounts and contacts and that sort of information. We have strategically not put those as knowledge sources, but instead connected to our data through the MCP server tool. Now, tools, they can live outside of topics, I must be honest, all right? Or they can live inside them. Now, why have I connected to Dataverse with this tool, this MCP tool, as opposed to just adding the tables as knowledge sources? Well, for a couple of reasons. Knowledge sources, and this is not a bad thing, knowledge sources are going to be more deterministic than the MCP tool will be. But MCP tools can generally be better at relational reasoning. And what I mean by that is our data is in a very relational database. It's all stored on the accounts table, the contacts table, the opportunities table, the products table, and these are all related to each other. And the MCP server, I think, does a better job of creating correct insights off of that sort of thing, as opposed to adding those tables to our knowledge source. And we still have enough controllability with the MCP server tool. And so specifically what I mean is if you click into this, perfect. By default, this is switched on and you give your tool the ability to do everything. I think that would be a miss. Just putting that out there. I would not recommend doing that. You may have a use case that needs more than what I've done, but I mentioned that this is a more indeterministic, a less deterministic tool. All right. But we've turned off the things that we don't want it to be able to do. Like we don't want it to be able to touch tables, like actually the table schemas, the structure of our database. We don't want it to create or update or delete records. So we've have the level of controllability to turn all of those things off. And the indeterministicness we are okay with having in regards to reading and understanding the data. I hope that makes sense. Like the level of controllability here still gets us what we need while giving us better results without going too much off the rails and giving it too much uncontrolled power. So that's specifically as to why we've chosen to elect to use this tool as opposed to adding, say, Dataverse tables as knowledge sources, which you can also do. We also have an agent flow that we're going to use to help create our sales intelligence report. Think of agent flows just as fancy Power Automate flows, or rebranded Power Automate flows, I should maybe say. And then think of prompts. We have some prompt tools in here. Now, I must admit, prompts were a little confusing to me when I first started. All right. Think of prompts as little siloed AI processors. Okay. You can get inputs in and get outputs out. And let me show you exactly what I mean. So we have a prompt called Finding Our Top Opportunities. And what happens is whenever our agent is having a conversation around top opportunities, it calls this tool, it calls this prompt, okay? And here's what it does, okay? So in the prompts, you can outline, think of it like creating little mini agents. Like I said, little mini AI processors, I guess, so to speak. You can outline the model that this thing should use, and then all of the instructions here. And if I scroll down past all of these, what this is supposed to do is identify the highest priority active opportunities for sales agents, sales team members. Sorry. And we've connected all of our Dataverse data. These are all the fields on all the tables in our data. And so this is what actually kind of produces the output of what the top opportunities in our business are. And what's really cool about prompt tools is you can actually test these. Now, this may actually take a couple of 30 seconds to a minute to process because I'm using a reasoning model. The reason I'm using a reasoning model is because this is going to allow us to prioritize correctness over prioritizing speed. Anyways, these prompt tools, you can test them as you're building them. And I recognize we're almost at time. Okay, this is taking longer than I would have thought. Okay, perfect. There it is, right? And so this has reasoned over our data and produced an output. Now, for the sake of time, because I see we have about 4 minutes left, let me go back to our agent. I want to actually show now a topic, that our sales intelligence report topic that we've built out, okay? And I guess just to close tools, we have added tools for all of the different parts that we want our agent to do. We want it to find recommended actions. We want it to find upsells and cross-sells. We've built out different prompts to do all of those things. Now, if I go to topics, you'll see a lot of, out of the box created topics, but there's also a sales intelligence report topic that we've created. And your topic trigger, just like a flow. Sorry for all the comparisons to flow, but this is your topic trigger. This is telling the agent, hey, when should I start this conversation flow, right? So we're saying whenever somebody mentions anything about a report or a sales intelligence report or anything like that, we want you to follow this logic. Okay, we have it send a couple of messages, and then we see we're using all of these prompt tools. Okay, kind of all in a linear fashion, and then ultimately what we're doing is we're bringing this into a agent flow that creates our sales intelligence report and then outputs that here. Now this takes a couple of minutes, so I want to just go ahead and get this started. Just to kind of wrap up our demo. Or wrap up our presentation. Just to kind of highlight all of these pieces all working together here. We can see here that now it has kicked off our sales intelligence report topic. I found that the map over here tends to follow behind a little bit, but we've sent this message. I've started working on your sales intelligence topic, and now it's on this finding the top opportunities. And to kind of help make this all fit together, maybe add some extra context, all of these prompt tools are the sections of our report that it's going to output. Okay, so it's going to kind of query and find all of these information, get all of the content of these sections, and then that flow at the end is going to fill it into a downloadable report. And so here, yeah, now it's caught up. It's finished the prompt tool. It's gotten its output, and then it's gone ahead and sent this kind of update message. Now, the reason I have it sending these update messages is because I recognize that all of this processing, again, we're valuing correctness over speed, may take time, right? And if I'm chatting to the agent and I said, hey, give me a sales report, and I hear nothing for 3 minutes, I'm going to think something's wrong after 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 2 minutes, right? I'm going to respond again and whatnot. I wouldn't want our agent to get confused. And so I'm strategically having it send update messages throughout the process. So then that way, user adoption and everything is a little bit happier and better there too. It's almost done here. I don't think I could have cut it any closer on time. Okay, it's now generating our report, which means it's now triggered our agent flow, which is again another tool inside of our topic, inside of our agent. Okay, it's completed that, it's outputted it, and we can actually download this. And if I open it here, I guess I realize it may not open actually on this tab itself. I can share the output. And so here is actually what it has outputted. So it has outputted the content from all of those prompts, filled them into this document and everything there. So that is, I guess, in a nutshell, how to architect an agent. I'm going to share this final slide. If I go back here. Okay. Like I said, you can get the slide deck on the Citizen Developer site/resources and anything there. And there is, like I said, a full YouTube video step-by-step on how I actually went into very much great detail of all of the different pieces that went into that agent and building that sales report for you as well. It's the most recent video on the channel. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope that was helpful. Be sure to reach out to me and let me know however you'd like.
So thank you, Griffin. I think
Yeah.
it was an amazing session. I would say you can rename it in Copilot Studio in a nutshell.
Yeah, you can.
Really, really good. So I think there was no questions in the for this session, but I have a question. So
Yeah.
but I hope you are really good connected with a product team. So I'm a SharePoint guy, so I work for more than 25 years with this product, and one important topic to this, as I tried the first time Copilot Studio, I tried it with SharePoint, and I would say it was a disaster. And when I tried it again every few months, it would be a little bit better. And so Bülent said to us in our workshop, so there's no, at the moment there's no MCP for SharePoint. So do you heard anything about the future developments regarding to the SharePoint integration into Copilot Studio? I think it's a hard topic for me.
Yeah. You're putting me in a tough spot here. I guess I don't know how I can answer that question, No, I guess I would say I'm not too sure. I feel like in my experience, adding SharePoint documents directly to the knowledge source site has decent, performance. But I also think that can be tough because then you have to kind of manage the documents that are in there. And if they change and everything, you have to go back and update what's attached to your agent. So I think that can be tricky. I mean, I think ultimately, to your point, I think Copilot Studio is an incredible tool. Like I think it's a really cool platform, and why I spend so much time learning about it and sharing what I'm learning online. But it is also very new as well. As much as we like to think like, man, we could build 10,000 agents right now and automate everything in our business. Like, there are still a lot of limitations with the platform and with the tools that are available. And I recognize that. I'm sure Microsoft recognizes that as well, as much as they're trying to, encourage people to start learning the platform and using the platform to help their businesses. So I think it's maybe just the growing pains of where we're currently at. I mean, Copilot Studio is only like, I don't know, a little over a year old at this point. And when it came out a year ago, there were countless bugs. Like I would love to say it was an awesome platform, but it did feel a little half-baked, especially at the time. And so now I think we're to the point where it doesn't feel so buggy. It feels like when you're building agents, it's like doing what you're doing, but there's still just a very much steep learning curve. And the technology inside the tools I still think has a little ways to go before it can really be, everything that, people say it is, I guess. It's
on the line. I think, yeah. So it's like everything what Microsoft does based on Dataverse, everything works really good, I would say. And so thank you for your session. The next session is in 10 minutes with Furman Trotman regarding the topic SharePoint and versus Excel task management. Back to the basics, back to SharePoint. I thank you. I know you have a really, so we have a minute for you. You have a really interesting session in February. Would you say 2-3 words about your?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. Yeah. So me and some other agent Copilot subject matter experts, myself, Donna Sarkar, Scott Durow, Chris Huntingford, and Andrew Welch. I really do mean, I think they, especially them, they're some superstars when it comes to this sort of stuff and real subject matter experts. We have put together a program called the Agentic Strategy Blueprint Program to help empower organizations develop their agentic strategies. How do they go from zero to hero to frontier firm in the next 90 days? How do they get agent ready in the next 90 days? And so you can find all sorts of links all over my LinkedIn and everything as well. We're looking to put together kind of the first cohort of that program in late February. And so I'd recommend to anybody out there, at least check it out. And if you're interested, shoot me a message. We'll see what we can do to help get you in there and everything there. So some super cool thing coming together. It's basically going to be 5 one-hour sessions. You'll get all sorts of downloadable templates and guides that you can take with you and apply directly to your business as well. And I think it's applicable to Power Platform professionals as well, as we're helping organizations do this too. So yeah, thanks for that.
Really good. Yeah. So if you want, you can send us the link. We will put it into the show notes. I think this is a really, really cool workshop, or it's a workshop how you call it.
I would say it lines more with like session presentations, but there is a pretty heavy focus on live Q&A as well, depending on which seat you get, because we obviously can't answer hundreds of people's questions live. But nonetheless, like there is very much that element as well. And it's much bigger than Copilot Studio. It's really the approach of enterprise grade agentic AI across the entire Microsoft ecosystem. So.
Really good. So thank you, and have a nice day. See you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was awesome. We'll see you. Bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos. Approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
So, hello and welcome to the M365 Con. Today, Marcel Bosch is speaking. I'm the founder of the Power Bros and the M365 Con. And our guest today is Firma Trotman. A warm welcome, Mr. SharePoint. The topic is SharePoint versus Excel task management. You can start. Welcome.
Marcel, appreciate that. So I guess I won't be able to see the chat during our session, but that's okay, Marcel. I'm assuming you'll pass me any questions that anybody might have, right? All right. So listen, first of all, all right, good deal. So let me just run through real quick a quick bio. So I am Thurman Trotman. I've been working with SharePoint since 2009, back when it was SharePoint 2007. And I did a big chunk of it in the government space. I did that as a contractor for many years, and now I'm independent, still a contractor, but working with private and public businesses. I traveled the world a little bit, you know what I mean, back when I was younger and a little bit more when I was older. I got a wife, 3 kids, you know what I mean, the house with the dog and the cat and all that, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole thing. All right, now listen, today's session, what I want to do is show you SharePoint for task management. Because today, what a lot of people I think will do is if they need to spin up a spreadsheet or spin up a task list for their team, highly likely they're going to reach for a spreadsheet. And I'm like, spreadsheets work. That's cool. That's fine. But if you knew what was available to you inside of Microsoft 365, specifically SharePoint, then you would probably use SharePoint instead of a spreadsheet because the benefits are just endless. I could go on and on all day about them. But today I'm only going to talk about 10. I'm going to try to talk about 10. And I'm going to show them to you as we go through. So yeah, if you think about inside of your career, like if you've ever done a building move, let's say like you have, you work for a company. Yeah, maybe you work inside of a building and that building could fit about 100 to 150 people. Over the years, the company has been growing and you're getting very close to more than 150 people. Matter of fact, you're about to have an influx of a lot of people. So there's a big initiative to do a building move. Like you have to go through a situation where you pack up all of your stuff in one building and then you move into whatever the new building is. If you haven't gone through this in your career, at some point, you're probably going to go through this if you haven't already. And what it looks like is like to the people that are doing the move, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? You pack up your boxes, grab your chair, whatever, and then you move it to the new location. But the people in charge of doing this move, it's a lot for them. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to be in charge of the logistics of it all. This might include, what day you're going to leave, what day the next shift of people are going to leave, what this new location looks like, getting IT set up in the new location, moving furniture, buying new furniture, associating people with the proper rooms. Like it's a whole entire thing. And some project manager who's in charge of this, who is extremely capable, very good at what they do, I'm sure. I've met a ton of them. What they might do, highly likely, is create a spreadsheet to manage the tasks of moving from building to building. They'll create a spreadsheet, maybe at the bottom. Matter of fact, maybe on that first tab, they'll, call it instructions or whatever. And maybe on the next set of tabs, they'll divvy it up by department, or they'll divvy it up by, let's say you got multiple buildings, they'll divvy it up by building. I don't know. But the point is that project manager will create the task list inside of a spreadsheet and then possibly send that spreadsheet out to everybody on the team and tell them, hey, this is the spreadsheet that we're using to track all the tasks. The problem with that is that as soon as that project manager hits send on that email to the team, let's say it's like 10 people on the team. As soon as the project manager hits send, the project manager has now made 10 copies of that spreadsheet. First step where, we're going to have a problem with the data. Let's say this project manager is like, you know what? I don't want to send it through email. I know the problem was with email. I'm actually savvy. I'm going to use SharePoint. I'm going to hang the spreadsheet inside of a SharePoint library and tell everybody to go use that link, use that central location of the spreadsheet. So the project manager uploads the spreadsheet to SharePoint, to a SharePoint library, sends everybody the link and says, hey, use that to track all the tasks. That's where we're tracking all the tasks. That's a good upgrade. I like that because it centralizes everything. You don't hit send on an email and copy out the document everywhere. You centralize all the information inside of a spreadsheet. Cool. But the problem with this now is when someone goes to access the spreadsheet and they do something to it. They're like, I'm in the HR department, so I don't really care about what finance is doing. Let me filter these items to show me all HR. And then I want to also hide these columns that have nothing to do with me. I only care about the task description, and the date that it's due. All that other stuff, I don't care about. So I'm going to hide those columns. When the person who does that for HR does that, and then they close the item out and then leave for the day, or maybe they don't close it out. They just leave it up and go home for the day. When I come in, let's say I'm in the finance department and I come look at this spreadsheet, I have to undo everything that this person in HR just did. I have to show those columns. I have to unfilter all of that just to get to the step of orienting myself and managing my tasks, which is really annoying. Number two, the other problem with that, let's say that, I don't start hiding columns and filtering things, right? Let's say instead that when I need to update a task, I'm doing things like updating the task, but also changing the due date. And when I change the due date, I put a highlighter on there, or maybe I don't even use the correct format. I write, instead of saying January 1st, 2026, I write 1 Jan 2026. You know what I'm saying? I do it my own way. This is another issue where you have formatting issues because you're still using a spreadsheet. Another issue with putting that spreadsheet inside of the SharePoint list is that the entire spreadsheet by itself, that big spreadsheet, that's one item. But when you use SharePoint, specifically SharePoint list, the technology that I'm talking about is SharePoint list. When you use a SharePoint list, every task is an item. Every task is a record. So again, the spreadsheet itself, that's one item. It's a document inside of a library. One document inside of a library. So everything that happens inside of there is just one big jumble of activities. But with a SharePoint list, every task is an individual item. And you get to do things to that one item that you can't do to each row inside of a spreadsheet. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get to these 10 items that I want to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and hit present right here. Share my screen. Okay. So hold on real quick. Just going to go over to. Oh, okay. All right. There we go. All right. So you now should be seeing my screen. If you can't see my screen, somebody, let me know. Actually, here, let me do this. Let me get a little meta real quick. Hold on real quick. Let's make sure I can see this. All right, there we go. All right, cool. All right, so now here's the thing. When you if you can see my screen, then you should be able to see the 10 items that SharePoint does better than Excel. And this list right here means more than just, a task list. Here, let me make this bigger. Let's do this here. Make that bigger. Okay. So this says 10 things that SharePoint does better than Excel. This applies to whether I'm talking about a SharePoint task list, like we're going to talk about today, or it applies to, let's say, I sell a course called the Risk Register Revamp. And what I do is I teach people how to build a risk register using a SharePoint list. This still applies. 10 things SharePoint does better than Excel. It still applies because people like to build risk registers using spreadsheets. And I'm like, don't do that. Use a SharePoint list. It's much better. And the reasons why I would tell you to do it with a SharePoint list is because of what you see here on the screen, these 10 things that SharePoint does better than Excel. So whether it's a risk register, or like we're going to talk about today, a task tracker, or even if it's an inventory tracker, you're probably going to pull out a spreadsheet and try to do your inventory tracking in a spreadsheet. I would tell you it would be better in a SharePoint list, and use this same list right here, 10 things SharePoint does better than Excel. I would still tell you to put your inventory tracker in a SharePoint list for these same reasons. So it's not like what I'm about to tell you today is specific to SharePoint, is specific to task tracker. It's just universal. Every time you think, yo, I'm about to create a spreadsheet to do this, I would tell you, relax, slow down, you know what I'm saying? And think, would it be better inside a SharePoint list? And I'm willing to bet it probably would be, you know what I mean? So now let's go through these. So first of all, number one, here, let me make it a little bit more bigger, just in case. See if y'all can see that. Also, I want you to know, if I'm not briefing from any slides. FYI, what you're looking at right now is a SharePoint site. And I just embedded my PDF on this site. So, if you're interested in no longer briefing from PowerPoints and all other stuff, you could do this right here. Just brief on directly from SharePoint pages. Anyway, so this is the homepage of my headquarters building move site that we were talking about earlier, where we're going to track these tasks. The number one reason why SharePoint is better than Excel is because user information is automatically captured. That's this one right here, number one. So when collaborating with others, SharePoint easily records any action taken by all users. Now, if you remember when I told you earlier that one spreadsheet is a document inside of a library, that's one item, or it's one item that you would send out in a email. But when you're dealing with a SharePoint list, every item is a record that keeps track of the things that people are doing. Now, here's an example. See right here where it says building tasks. I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to go to, hold on. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to go to this list right here. This is the actual list of the building tasks. That's what we're looking at. So if I wanted to see what was happening on this specific record, secure a lease for the new space, just this one item, I can see it was modified 40 minutes ago. You know what I mean? That's what happened on this specific item. That's a task. So that's one of the tasks for the building move. And I can see 40 minutes ago, Thurman updated it. Now, if I went and clicked on details right here, I could see more about what has been happening with this specific record. Also, SharePoint moves way faster than this. The only reason it'll be moving slow right now is probably because I'm broadcasting. So I could see the activity on this item was back in September on the 27th. Thurman, that was me, commented that, I've secured the lease, see attached, and I edited the item that day. But also today, me and Miriam edited this item. And here's Miriam's comment. She also edited it 49 minutes ago. It says, okay, but who is the right parties? That is Miriam doing things on this item. So that's the way I can see, things have happened with the item. In addition, if I wanted to get a little bit more granular, I could look at the version history and see step by step of what's been happening. And I can also restore that item. So again, if you were, I'm going to go back to the homepage. If you were doing this in a spreadsheet, everything I just showed you, you wouldn't be able to see what's happening on that individual task. Because again, your whole document is one item inside of the library. So you can see, different things that are happening to the document. But because you're doing tasks and you're tracking tasks, you want to see what's happening to each individual one. So that's an item. That's something you don't get inside of a spreadsheet. Now, number two right here, multiple users can interact simultaneously. And too many people in a spreadsheet at once can get chaotic. And that's not an issue inside of SharePoint. Tons and tons of people can access a SharePoint list at the same time, and you won't run into the issues that you would if everybody was using a spreadsheet. The problem is spreadsheets, as you interact with the spreadsheet, it changes it for other people. So if I get in there and I want to hide columns and filter, roles and all this other stuff, it will affect me. Like if the HR person does it and then I come in as finance, like I was telling you earlier, I have to undo all that stuff because they have changed the spreadsheet for me. But it gets more chaotic if everybody's in there at the same time, moving things and changing things. Microsoft is working to make that better. I've seen it get better over the years, but I would be the first to tell you that a SharePoint list by default, it just handles that. You know what I'm saying? So use a SharePoint list. Now, number 3, this one says that you could control the data you collect. So if you're collecting data from other users, SharePoint puts an end to people creating their own columns, writing TBD and date columns, bolding and coloring text and all of that. You know what I'm talking about. If you send this task list out and you tell everybody to, you know, make sure they keep their tasks updated, they start to do things like bold columns, highlight things like I was talking about earlier, removing columns, doing things that you did not ask them to do. Even like instead of writing in a date or putting the date in a proper format, like I mentioned, they might write something like I said right here, TBD. I don't need TBD as a person tracking this task. I need a date. And I need that date to, you know, make sure I'm planning everything properly on this project of moving into the new building. When you have SharePoint, when you use a SharePoint list, you eliminate that stuff. You can do it like this. Let me show you something. So back to my screen here. Oh, my bad. So look, up here in the corner, it shows who I am. This is Thurman. But I have another screen open here with another person. And this is MG. This is Miriam. So you can see I'm logged in right now as Miriam, and I'm looking at the same building tasks, right? Now, if I need to update an item, let's say, let me refresh this real quick, but let's say I need to update that first task again, secure a lease for the new space, right? I'm Miriam again. Remember, look up here. This is me. I'm Miriam, right? I come in here and I'm like, I'm going to update this. And the due date is actually not the 7th. It's actually supposed to be let's say it's supposed to be February 7th, not October 7th, right? Now I can't come in here and say, 7 Feb 2026. See what this does? Automatically, it says enter a date like this, 2/23/2012. If you can see that. Let me see if I can. All right, it went away. But here, let me do it again. 2 Feb 2026. It just keeps going back to the regular date because I can't do that. Let's say that I said TBD. I can't do that either. Here, let me try one more time to see if I can get you to see it. Now, when I try to save that, see, enter a date like this. That's what we want. We want to control the format. And so what you would actually give them that makes it easy is what we use on the internet every day. We get a mini calendar like this and we just choose an item. So I'm going to say this is actually due on February 6th. And then when I hit save, now I'm good to go. That's what you want. You want to be able to control that format. And because, again, people get in there and start writing things incorrectly, highlighting things, bolding things. I don't have the ability to do that. Even though I'm Miriam and I'm on this project team and I interact with this task list, I don't have the ability to do the things that Thurman can do, who's the manager of the list. It's not set up that way by default. You can give people the same access that you have to the list and trust that they'll do fine, especially if you have a small team. But highly likely people will make mistakes, or if you give people the opportunity to do certain things, they will do it. So it's a risk that you build in on how you want to manage that. But at the end of the day, if you're on a spreadsheet, you don't even get that option. If you're on a SharePoint list, you get the option to say, I want people to be able to do the same thing as me, or no, I just want people to interact with my tasks. Give me the update and go. All right, now let's get back to Thurman's screen. Now number 4. So forms and flexibility. So forms allow end users to easily submit information that you request. Now in SharePoint, when you create a SharePoint list, you get another function called a form, which is what we're used to. So let's say you go to netflix.com and you want to sign up for a Netflix account. When you click on something that says you want to sign up for a Netflix account, you're going to see a form. It's going to ask for your name, your email address, and some other information, and then you hit submit. You would not see Netflix say, hey, in order to sign up for an account, we're going to send you a spreadsheet. We want you to put your name inside of the spreadsheet and your other details and then send it back to us. They're not going to say that because that doesn't even make any sense. And they're also not going to say, go to our site, download a spreadsheet, put your information in and re-upload it. If they did that, you would be looking at them like, wait, what's happening right now? Like, why am I giving you a spreadsheet? Why am I not just filling out a form the way I do on the rest of the internet? The same thing at work. We have gotten used to a certain technology in the public space. There are things we can do to bring that same technology to the work. So when someone sends you a spreadsheet in your email at work, asking you to fill it out, you should immediately think to yourself, why am I doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have the ability to do this. What I'm gonna show you right here. So to add a new item to this task list, you can do it like this. You can open up that, hit add new item, and then come in here and enter information into a form, as opposed to entering it into a spreadsheet. Now, SharePoint does give you the ability to enter things in column and row view, which is what we're used to right here, right? And that's actually fine. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not too complicated to just go into a record and make an update. Matter of fact, sometimes it's easier to do it that way, like this. If I hit edit in grid view and I come here and I change facilities and HR to facilities, HR, and IT, and I just hit OK, that's okay. That makes sense. My data is sitting in there. All I'm doing is editing my data. But to enter a new record, it just makes sense in a lot of cases to do it using a form like this. So, you enter here, here's the new task. Here's the description. Tab your way through, pick a department. Don't give them the ability to write the words facilities or write the word finance. The status defaults automatically to not started because that's where we want items to be. Again, like we talked about, we choose a date from a calendar. We don't write our own dates. And then we assign these things to people. So we can type, I can assign this to somebody named Nesta. You know what I'm saying? And I can add attachments to this record. So just know that forms make it way easier for people who are interacting with your SharePoint list to give you the information that you need. They simply hit add new item and they enter the information and they tab their way through it just like they're used to on the internet, and then they hit save. That's it. Make it easy for them. Now let's switch back to my screen. All right, so that's forms and flexibilities. Now create a calendar. So this one says if you have a date column in your data, you can easily switch to a 30-day calendar view. The reason I singled this out is because people ask for this all the time in my existence of working with clients. This is the thing that they always ask for. So I highlighted it because I wanted people to know that you could do that. Because if you're tracking your tasks and you see them in a task list, it is super helpful. Absolutely. But it might be even more helpful for you to see it in a calendar view and still be able to interact with it, because that's something that, again, you cannot do with a spreadsheet. So here, I already made it. If you look at calendar, and we're going to go back to October because I did this back in October. And look, I can see all of my tasks in this view, in the calendar view. Let me hide this real quick. Yeah, so I can see all of my tasks in the calendar view. I don't have to pull them out and then go plot them on a calendar somewhere like an Outlook. It just gives me this. I had to create it, obviously. It's a feature called views. I'm going to get to that later. But I created this calendar view that allows me to see all of my tasks in this calendar view. And guess what? I can interact with the task from here. I don't have to go back to the list view. So let's say, for instance, this order AV one, right? Order AV, let's say that purchase necessary cameras, microphones, and displays. I'll say, are you sure that's all we need? So that's me, Miriam, making a comment on this task, order AV and conferencing equipment. Now look, if I go back to the all items view and I look for this order AV and conferencing equipment, this one right here. If I open that, look, it's the same record. All we're doing is just viewing it in a different view, which is a calendar view. That's it. So super powerful, something that you do not get with Excel, and I wanted to single that out real quick. However, if we look at choose new ways, number 6, choose new ways to view data. So use views to keep your data separate while still keeping it together. Now this, if you remember at the beginning when I talked about when that person opens up this, creates a spreadsheet for the building tasks, they might at the bottom put different departments, right? So they'll say, you know, the IT tab, y'all work on the IT department, y'all work on a tab that I called IT. The HR department, y'all work on the tab that I called HR. Finance, same thing. You don't want to do that, you know what I'm saying? Because when you do that inside of a spreadsheet, you get into this thing where you go to the IT tab and you see that IT has marked it complete. So then you say, okay, let me copy that information and put it on my main tab, which keeps the overall status of all these items. So I'll mark that item complete on my main tab. Can you do that? Again, yes, you can. But there's a way better way to do that where it doesn't involve human error of missing when someone has marked an item complete or copying and pasting the wrong information. The amount of copying and pasting that you want to do is minimal. You want to, decrease the amount of copying and pasting you do with your data. So now if you think about those departments, I created one view called the IT view right here. So when I click on IT, I see all of the items that IT is involved with, even if IT is involved in a different task and it's not just them on it. So you can see right here, there's 6 items, but these 5 down here, they're all IT alone. But you can see up here, this one is IT, facilities, and HR. They're all involved with this item. So anything that IT has to do with is all on this view, and it happens dynamically. So let's say that I come out here to all items and I say clean and prepare site, conduct site inspection. I don't want just the facilities team to conduct site inspection. I want to add the IT department to this. So let's go ahead and add IT. Click OK. Exit that grid view. Now I'm going to go back to the IT view. Remember, we only had 6 items there. As we come back to IT, now look down here. We have 7. Why? Because we just added IT onto this record right here. So when IT comes and logs in every day, and let's say they just want to see an IT view, their view will be updated in real time. I don't have to tell them, hey, I just put a new task on your list. I can if I want to. That would actually make sense, but I don't necessarily have to. We could have a email. I could send an email every morning and be like, hey, here's an update of what's going on. And in my update, I could say, IT, I just added you to the conduct site inspection task. That's just good communication as a leader. But also, if I'm IT and I'm not reading the emails from the updates, at least I know my task tracker is the version of the truth that tells me every task that I have to work. So there's that. And I don't have to look at it in a grid view either. It doesn't have to be columns and rows. Look at this right here called Kanban. So the Kanban is just another view of my tasks on the same list. It does not take this long to load. Again, I'm thinking this is happening simply because I'm broadcasting. Here, let me hit refresh. Well, this is embarrassing because now the refresh is taking long. Let me see if I can do it on Thurman screen. Building tasks. Okay, we're flying. And now I'm going to go over to Kanban. All right, so right here, check this out. In the Kanban view, I can see my items in buckets. Not started, in progress, completed, and on hold. I could change these buckets. If I wanted to change the buckets to department, I could do that too. You know what I mean? But right now, it's by status. It just makes sense that, you go from left to right. An item is not started, so we drag it to in progress when we start it. Then we drag it to completed when we're done. And if something is not falling into those 3 buckets, we just drag it to on hold. Now I want to show you, let me see. So when we went to, because I'm going to show you to update the same task from that same view. So we just added, conduct site inspection. This is not started. And we put facilities and IT on it. Now, if I go back to the Kanban board and I look for conduct site inspection, that's this one right here, facilities and IT. Let's say we're ready to go. This thing is now, Patty says she's ready to move out on this. So we drag it over to in progress. And simple as that, conduct site inspection is now in progress. I didn't have to go back to my all items view in order to update that. So this is fine. So now if I come to the all items and I look at conduct, where to go? Conduct site inspection right here. You can see it's now marked as in progress. So every view updates because it's all the same data. It's just separated by different views. That's it. Nothing else. All right, let's go back to our one pager. So now you could use a landing page or a website. So instead of sending an email with the details and a spreadsheet attachment, just send a link to a page that you design and you can update whenever you need to. Now, I don't think I have an example of this, but I do want to explain what this even means. So you can build pages inside of SharePoint and do pretty much anything with them. Imagine a situation where nothing is tracked. So anything you're tracking, I believe that it's never just that thing. It's more than just that thing. It's, let's say, for instance, this building move. There's a, tracking information. So there's the tasks. There's a point of contact. There is a overall strategy. There's pitches of the new building. There's meetings that's being had. All of these things. You will probably put that in an email and think that's sufficient. And sufficient, fine. But if you create a SharePoint page and put all of that information on that page and make it easy for anybody to interact with it, then, and what I mean by that is that you lay it out in an easy to view way. That is where you want to be, as opposed to just having the thing to track. There's way more to a project than just the tasks that you have to track. And I would tell you to put all of those things on one page. If I got time here at the end, then I'll show you an example of a page. All right, so central location versus emailed copies. So SharePoint gives you one version of the truth. The moment you hit send on an email with a spreadsheet attached, you have made separate copies of the spreadsheet that you're now on the hook to manage. I spoke about that earlier. Quick reiteration is just that when you put things inside of emails and you send them out as attachments, you're making copies of the document and you're making it difficult now for you to manage all that information. You want it all together. You don't want to separate it. That makes your life harder, and it makes the project team, it makes their life hard too. Number 9, control permissions. So decide what data users can see and if they're allowed to edit it. So a quick example of that is, people getting your spreadsheet, interacting with it in a way that's kind of annoying. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, hiding columns, deleting columns even maybe by accident, doing all kinds of things, right? In SharePoint, you can turn that ability off. And here's an example. I'm going to go back to the building tasks, right? And because I'm the person who's managing this list, I get to put certain restrictions on the list. So now if I click on all items, you can see, let's say, for instance, I can add or remove fields from this view. So see task, description, department, status, due date, modified by. Those are all the columns that you see in this view. But if I felt like it, I could say, I don't want modified and modified by in the view. I am the administrator of the list. This is what I want everybody to see on their main screen. Now, if I go back over here and I'm Miriam and I click on all items, I go back to the all items view. Look, I have those columns gone for me because Thurman, who's administrating the list, said that those columns need to be gone. And me, if I go, well, I don't like that, I want to add those columns back, I can't do that. See that? So I don't have the ability to now add those columns back that Thurman removed because I don't have those permissions. I do, however, have the ability to create a view. And when I create a view, I can create a view that I can see that no one else has to deal with, and I can add and remove whatever kind of columns I want inside of that view. So if I say I don't like the main view that Thurman made, I want to make my own view. I want it to be a calendar view, and I want to have certain things. I even want to color code it. I can do that in my view, and it doesn't affect anything anybody else is doing. So the main point is not all of the different ways that you could control the list. That's not the point that I'm making, even though it's a strong point. The real point that I'm making is that in Excel, you don't have that option. But in SharePoint, you at least have the option to be like, all right, well, we got a big team. I need to account for people not jacking the list up. I'm going to turn on these restrictions. You at least have the option inside of SharePoint, where in Excel, you don't. Let's go back to our document. All right, so automated notifications. So get notified of what happens when, wow, I cannot believe I have a typo on this thing. Get notified of what happens when people interact with your data, so you're not trying to retrace steps when something goes wrong. So this is another thing that comes built into SharePoint. Let me show you real quick. On the building tasks, I can set something up. Let me see if I got any rules already set up. So if I go to automate and I go to rules, manage rules, when an item is modified, if the status is changed and a new value is completed, send an email to Miriam. I'm going to turn this on, but it is on. That's really annoying. I'm going to turn this on, but I'm going to say, send this to me, Thurman. I made save. So this is a built-in automation that's on the list. So when an item is modified, if the status changes and a new value is completed, send an email to Thurman Trotman. I'm going to go back over here to Miriam. We're on a Miriam view, and I'm going to go to a view I created called My Tasks, because I just want to see anything that's assigned to me, Miriam. And this one is in progress. Run the network wiring and Wi-Fi survey. I'm going to say, I'm going to mark this as complete. This is completed. And I'm going to say, this is done. Just for extra communication. Nothing wrong with that. So I just marked that as completed. I'm going to go back over here to Thurman, and I'm going to go into my email. On my email here, and I should get a notification that says that Miriam, see right here. There it is. Nope, that is not. Oh, no, that's a notification from earlier. So this is another type of automation. So this says Miriam mentioned me on the secure a lease for the new space in building tasks. So if we go back over here and we look at secure a lease, where'd it go? Right here, number 1. So if you look here at this this comment, you see it says, okay, but who is the right parties? That's at Thurman Trotman. Because Miriam added me, that's why I got this email, because it says she mentioned me. And now here's the other email we were looking for. On run network and wiring diagram, Miriam Graham changed the status to completed. And so because I have this rule set up that says when something is modified and is changed to completed, notify me, that's why I got this. That's why I got this automated email. Can't do that in Excel. Now let us finish up with, let's go back to the home page. I'm back on Thurman's screen. And so that's all 10. But the bonus is this right here. You're going to have somebody on the team that's like, yo, I don't like this SharePoint foolishness, particularly the boss. Just give me what I need in a spreadsheet. You can still do that. You can go to the list, hit export to Excel right here, export to Excel, and then that will go to Excel, and you can send that to whoever's like, yo, keep me out of this SharePoint foolishness. But the cool thing about it is that if I export to Excel and I make an update on the SharePoint list, all I got to do is go back to the spreadsheet, hit refresh, and it will pull in the same information that is on SharePoint. So that means SharePoint is your actual one version of the truth. And the spreadsheet, all it does is just looks at SharePoint, pulls in the data, refreshes it, and gives you the latest, greatest. So even if you send it to your boss and your boss is like, hey, can you send this to me weekly, and forces you to do it, fine, you're stuck doing it. But if your boss is like, willing and open to some gradual change, you can say, I don't have to send it to you. You could just go in on Friday mornings to your spreadsheet, hit refresh, and it will pull in the latest, greatest data. And that is the truth. It will do that. So I'm not going to recap in the interest of time, but I will keep this page open so that we could talk about it in case anybody got any questions. So do we have any questions? Actually, let me see. Maybe I could swing this myself. Easy to follow. Cool. Appreciate that. All session on YouTube. Cool. Scott is following. Excited to be here. Okay. All right. Good deal. Okay, that's for Griffin. Okay, cool. And then okay, so I don't think we have any questions. Am I correct about that? Let me see.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, all right, good. Are we at time? Do I have any time left?
Yes, we have 10 minutes or.
Okay, good. So then let me stress something. So everything that I've talked about here today is about SharePoint. SharePoint is a technology. And everything you're going to hear about today on the conference, highly likely is going to be technology. It's a Microsoft 365 conference. But here's what I want to drive home. Let me see if I can stop sharing here.
Furman, I have 3 other topics. What could be interesting for you regarding to that?
What's going on? What you got?
One is one point what we can add to the list, I think, is the versioning, because the versioning in SharePoint list is, I think, much better as an Excel where I could say back. This is a main topic and regarding to SharePoint. And what I'm a Power platform dev, especially I build Canvas apps and Power Automate workflows, and Excel list as a trigger is the worst thing I could think. And that's why I say a SharePoint list as a trigger is really good. I could modify the trigger in Power Automate, and this is really good to have a SharePoint list as I would say, database, question marks, as an Excel. And this is the same if you use it with Excel as an database for a Power App, and it's integrated. You can change the form directly in the Power Apps Canvas app, and I think this is, for me as a Power App dev, main advantages regarding to Excel. So Excel is for me an document, and SharePoint is an integrated database that I can reuse. And it's much more professional as an Excel list. And Excel list is for me ever been data who works 1 or 2 with it, and where we could share it and work together. But it's a document. And with these 3 topics regarding to my experience with SharePoint and Excel is important. So I never built for a customer an app based on Excel. Never. And I will do this never.
Right. I don't expect you to. All strong points, especially the converting the form. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here again because Amo, you gotta forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong, but he asked that we show how we convert it to a calendar. So I'm gonna do that really quickly.
Okay, you have to re-add your screen on the top.
Yep. Let me do that real quick. Okay. All right. So if we go back on the building tasks, the SharePoint list, and we say we want to create a view. All it is just a view. So let's say I want to create a view. I come over here and I hit add view. And when I hit add view, this is where I do it. So let's say I want to create a cool calendar. That's the name of the view. And then I'm going to pick one of these. And the one I'm going to pick is this calendar. And then I make some other choices. Do I want to have the month view, week, work week, day? I'm going to say my default view that I want is month. I like month. And then the date that I'm going to use as the start date is the due date, and the end date is going to be the due date as well. If you add more date columns to your list, you can make those date columns, your start and your end. So right now I have due date, and then by default, SharePoint has created and modified. I don't care about those. I just want my due date to be my start and end. I can make this a public view, like I was talking about earlier. And then I can show the item, the title of the item on the view of the calendar. Now I could change that if I wanted to, but I want it to be the title. So now I'm gonna hit create. And now you can see my cool calendar view. And that's it. You can customize this even further. But you can customize this even further, but that's a whole nother topic. But just know from here's where you would start. And then I would also go back in here and do this real quick. I would come and rename the view to what looks like it makes more sense, which is cool space calendar. We only did that originally so that we could have a clean URL. Also a topic for another day. But that's it. That's how you do it. Amo, let me know if that works. Now, before I left here, there is one thing that I wanted to point out, which I was going to say earlier. All the stuff that I'm talking about, again, it's all technology. And technology is very important. SharePoint is a technology, Microsoft 365 technology. But what you need to understand is, even though that's what I talk about, that's not the primary thing that you need to focus yourself on. Working with these technologies, working with these tools, you need to focus on people. You need to focus on project managers or the boss or operations leads or all these other people. Focus on what they actually need to get done to make their day easier. And that's how you can build great tools with SharePoint. That's how you could use any technology better. For instance, if you have to go to the gym is like a thing that you just go to. And let's say when you're going to the gym, you're like, I need to track my information. So you get a piece of pen and paper and you write down everything that you did in the gym that day. Every time you go to the gym, you write that information down. The pen and paper is a type of technology. And what you're using that technology to do is track what you did in the gym. The most important thing is you getting to the gym. That's what's important. Now, let's say somebody steps to you and they say, hey, listen, have you ever heard of an Apple Watch? If you use an Apple Watch, that can help you track your information way easier. It will automate the things that you're doing with your pen and paper. And then you go, okay, cool, I could do that. I like that. You show them how it works, and then they start to use it. And now you have just used technology to make what you're doing easier, faster, more efficient, all the words. That's the way I want you to think about technology. Technology doesn't solve problems. It's people who solve problems. You just take the technology, the best technology to help you solve the problem and apply that to what your users are doing. Again, people over technology. I cannot stress that enough. Think that way when you're thinking about how you want to use technology. When I was young in my career, I thought it was technology. You build it and they'll come. And then as I got older in my career, I realized, no, it's not about that. You can have the best solution ever. But if you can't communicate that to the right stakeholders, they don't care. They need people who can talk to them and make them understand why something is valuable. And then after doing that, it makes it just super easy for you to inject the technology and say, hey, this is what you should be doing. So I just want to stress that. You know what I'm saying? People over technology all day, every day. Marcel, thank you very much. Oh, I'm also
the best word what you can say. So it's like the day starts, the day ends here for us today. So we have only one session left. And I started with nearly the same sentences because so if I think about, for example, a center of excellence about AI, I don't think about technology. How can I monitor anything? How can I make buy tools or make feature fucking on everything, anything? You said it like it is. You need to connect the people and define rules. How could the people work with the tools and how get where the benefits? Really
Right.
good. I like that.
That's the primary thing. Absolutely. Totally agree. Good deal. Thank you so much. This was great. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I thank you. I hope we will join again in this year or soon in one of our M365 shows. I really like what you do. So for today, I would say thank you. Our next speaker is Markus Wanz, my co-host from the German M365 show, and this topic is Wipe It Like It's Hot, the future of app development with AI assistants. So have a nice day and see you soon.
All right, see you. Thanks again.
Bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together. The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con, our last session for today, with my M365 Con co-host Markus Franz. Warm welcome to you. The today topics is Wipe It Like It's Hot, the future of app development with AI assistants. I really love this topic. Markus, hello, and up to you. You can start.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Like Marcel already mentioned, we will be seeing a few demos today about what is coming towards us regarding app development, or more or less what is already existing, and also one new thing that I'm really addicted to. And if I infected you, I'm sorry. I was infected as well by a few friends. I will give a big shout out to them later this presentation. But let me quickly introduce myself. I am quickly sharing my screen. I just need to set everything up so that I can show you what I prepared for today. So now you should be able to see my screen, hopefully. Like Marcel already mentioned the title, it's all about Wipe It Like It's Hot, the future of app development with AI assistants. There are a few options out there, and I hope that I can show you around a bit. So a little bit about myself. My name is Markus. If you are not already connected, simply scan the QR code on the bottom left and send me a connection request on LinkedIn. I would happily accept. And if you have any further questions that go beyond the time, or if they are longer to answer, I can jump on there and just try to help you out. About myself, right now I'm working at a company as an in-house Power Platform M365 guy. So my title or role is Modern Workplace Solution Architect. I do everything about M365 Copilot, as well as Power Platform, all the stuff like Power Apps, Power Automate, as well as Copilot Studio and agents in general. And yeah, I was awarded Power Apps MVP in September last year. I mentor a few initiatives. I'm a Power Program Champ, where I try to help new learners and beginners. And like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm also a PNP GitHub repository contributor, where I try to upload a few cool snippets and tools about Power Apps, basically more or less only Power Apps. I'll leave this slide open for a few minutes until I'm finished to talk about what we currently have and where, in my point of view, the future will be regarding app development. So I think I hit my mouse, so we should be back now. As of now, we are used to build apps like in Canvas apps, where you have all the UI free to your modification as you want it. Canvas apps has been my favorite product ever since, and that's more or less the category I was awarded MVP for. and I really loved them. I really loved PowerFX, or still do. But there are a few other cool things on the horizon, and I think in no time there will be another category of build category or way to build apps where I will dive heads in first. I will talk about my story kind of when we are there, but the little teaser is that I am not really a pro-code guy, so I do not have a pro-code background, but I'm still able to develop apps together with AI assistants. And yeah, I will show you more about it in a bit. So like I said, Canvas apps is one part. You have all different kind of data sources that you can connect. As we all know, SharePoint is included, so you do not need premium licenses there. I guess that's one of a big reason, or the main reason, why companies that are not running on premium features are using Canvas apps, because they can combine it with SharePoint. Is it always the best choice to use SharePoint as a data source for Canvas apps? For sure it's not. So if it gets more complicated, or if you need relationships between two lists, or more or less tables in Dataverse, it's always better to use a relational data source as well. I mean, you can work around it with SharePoint, but not in the way that you can do it with Canvas apps and other stuff. The other thing is model-driven apps. In my point of view, also a valid product. I do not use them really often, but in cases where we need some kind of admin interface or a fixed business process where people cannot really make mistakes, so that they need to follow a certain process, I am also using model-driven apps. But at heart, I'm really a Canvas apps lover. Sorry to all people listening who are enjoying model-driven apps more than Canvas apps. I guess it's also as a thing for Dynamics people, because they are kind of used to the interface and the structure, of D365 and model-driven apps kind of things. So like I already mentioned, there are a few ways you can build apps in the future together with AI assistants, and I prepared a use case kind of for 3 different tools. First, we will have a look at the plan designer and how stuff work there, and we will have a look at the outcome and what it produces. Then we will have a look at vibe.powerapps.com and things happening there. And then last but not least, I think my soon my next favorite product in Power Platform space is CodeApps. It's kind of hot and new and fresh. Maybe some of you already tried it. Maybe some of you did not try, but today we will have a look at it, and I will show you how you can build nice stuff with it. I played around with CodeApps the last few weeks. Like I said, I was infected by 2 nice guys, but I will tell you more about them later, because they also run a YouTube channel on stuff based on CodeApps, and they really started a series on it. So how you get started, and how you can prompt, and how you can set up everything, and what the prerequisites are. We will have a short look on those things as well. But if you want to follow their journey or their series, I will share the YouTube channel as well. And both of them really produce nice content on there. So I will share the link later. Nice. Okay. So let's jump into the demo. And like I already mentioned, we will start with Plan Designer. So I'm exiting my thing here, and I will head over to my Power Apps Studio, kind of, or at least make.powerapps.com. I am in the right environment over here, and if you go to the Home tab, you can see all the different things where you can start building Power Apps, right? So we could start with the page design or start with data and create plan. We also have an overview here that says plans. Currently, I do not have any plans in my environment here. So I will simply click over here. What I did was I used AI assistants and told, in this case, ChatGPT, doesn't really matter which kind of AI tool you are using. There are all different things out there, but I thought I will use ChatGPT because it's still kind of really common and lots of people using it. I mean, it begins to shift sometimes for some people, and some of you might have more than one subscription, but you can also challenge all of those and just tell your AI assistant kind of what you want to build, and then you can check the outcome. So today I just told ChatGPT that it should give me a small and simple prompt about building an app that can book rooms at the office. And I will simply copy that, paste it in here, hit create plan. And then we can see that it is up and running. So on the left, you can see all the things going down. First, it builds a summary. Up here, you can have a look at which of the agents are connected or are working alongside you. So currently, we just interacted with the requirements agent. So based on the prompt that we gave the plan designer or requirements agent, it writes it down. And if you are not happy with the outcome, you can hit edit here. And then you could also add a few things here. But in this case, it's really about showing you what is possible. So in that point of view, so we click looks good here. So now we see that the process agent is running and is generating a response, and we can see that it lists out the process. So right now we can see we have a room overview and a navigation. Then we can book a room, and I can also manage my booking. So if I need to cancel a room or if I need to change a time or a date, but in that case, we say it looks good. The next agent is the data agent. So the data agent is setting up every table that we might need. So we have a rooms table, we have a booking table, and then we have an employee table. Again, here, if you are not happy with the outcome, you can also, in that case, hit the edit button and just prompt whatever changes you have. We continue. Then we can see that the technology agent or solution agent did something. In this case, it only created a Canvas app, as you can see here. But in that case, I will tell him, please also include flows and model-driven apps if needed. Now we can see that it is also adding a flow, so a booking confirmation flow and a room booking manager app, in this case, a model-driven app. I will say keep. If you're not happy with the outcome, you can also hit discard here. So we just keep it. We say looks good. Then we can save the plan. Give it a name for the room registration app. We simply hit save here. So now it's saving the solution. So now this is just an example of things that we could build. But as you see, you also have a plus icon that says create. In that case, I can also remove from plan and stuff like that. I can also convert to a model-driven app if needed. But in that case, we are just clicking Canvas apps here. We won't go into much detail about the other stuff. So that's just a flow. But I will show you the difference about really having an app built. So in that case, like I said, or just like you saw, it is building a Canvas app. And we will see in a bit how the Canvas apps looks like. And then we can compare it to the vibe.powerapps thing. And we can also compare it to code apps. When we are finished with the code apps setting up thing, I will also show you a few code apps I created over the last few weeks. These are simply, let's call them playing around apps. So none of them is really in production phase. It's just me trying to understand how it works and also challenge it a bit and see if things can be hosted inside of my Power Platform environment. So it is ready. As we can see here, we have a room screen where we can choose rooms. Then we have the booking screen where we can book rooms. We have an employee screen for whatever reason. And we also have a welcome screen in, I think that should be the home screen or the landing screen. We leave this one open for now, and we will just jump over to the web.powerapps thing. Looks like I just need to log in again. Looks like it timed out from half an hour ago or so. Let me quickly do this. And then we can see the difference. And I can also explain a bit more. One limitation that I can already tell you is about the web.powerapps.com thing, that you are not really able to paste really long prompts in here. The character limit is 4K characters. Might sound a lot, but in cases where you give it a really detailed prompt, it could be a problem when you are over the 4K limit, because it will simply tell you it is limited to 4K characters. But yeah, as you can see, it is kind of working like the Plan Designer. So we have the agents here. We have the requirements agent, the data agent, the code agent, and also the solution agent. Right now, I simply pasted the prompt in here, and it is creating everything. We should be able to see a difference in a bit. So it is working. We have a few tabs up here. So if I'm interested in data and what kind of tables and relationships the agent is giving me or building for me, I can simply have a look at those up here. When I go to plan, I just can go through it. Down here, you can see that it is creating a room booking hub, a booking change notification, which is a workflow, and also a generate booking report. Up here, we can switch between the tabs. So here is the preview. Then we have the code part here, where we can have a look at the different code snippets or code lines the agent is writing for us. And we can also have a split one, so that we have the code here and the preview here. So now we can see that it is already giving us a preview. So in my point of view, you can clearly see a difference. So if I'm going back to the Canvas app, it's just a Canvas app design and stuff like that. It's not really looking, sorry, not really looking that good. But when I'm going back, it's still working. So let's jump over to code apps for now. And we will see a difference once we are done. So code apps, let me quickly share a few infos with you. What are the prerequisites about code apps? So we need Visual Studio Code. That's what I just opened previously. We need Node.js, and we do not really need the Git thing that is listed here, but what we need is the Power Apps CLI. And there is also the requirement that you enable code apps in your Power Platform environment. It's in the admin center. You simply go to manage, pick your environment, go to the settings part, then you hit product, features. Let me quickly paste this into the chat. Yeah. One thing, like I mentioned, I'm not a pro code guy, so I did not have any pro code background. And one thing that was hard for me kind of was to get into Visual Studio Code. But there are a lot of great videos out there. So if you fear code apps because you do not have a pro code background, I can only tell you that it is Good to know pro code for sure, but it's not necessary in any kind of way. So you can also vibe through it, and we will just have a look at these things now. So let me also paste my two good friends' YouTube channel into the chat. So they are called Power Squared. It's Charlie and Josh really talking about everything code apps. So they just recently started a series about it, and also how you can set everything up and stuff like that. I won't go much into detail about how you can set up code apps, but if you follow the Power Squared YouTube channel, you can begin from there, and they will continue the series and take you on a code apps journey. So let me quickly go back to Visual Studio Code. So in that case, just pulling that over here. Great. So I already created everything, and now we installed all the dependencies, and now we will push everything or initialize it so we can use it in our Power Platform environment as well. After everything is ready, I will just grab my prompt that I used here and also paste it in the other two tools. I simply hit submit here. If you are familiar with it, you can choose whatever model you want here, and there are a few others as well. I can really recommend the Cloud Opus 4.5. One thing that is kind of necessary, not really, but you can enjoy the fun much longer. It is really a good thing to get a GitHub Copilot Pro subscription, because I think it's $11 a month, as far as I know. Because the normal GitHub Copilot Pro, if you are playing around with it a bit, it is really drowning your premium capabilities, and it will be, or you will be at limit really, really quick. So right now we are waiting that GitHub Copilot Pro is doing all the setup things. If you are already using Visual Studio Code, yours might look a bit different than mine, because I do not really have that much extensions installed here. If you are installing it the first time, it will for sure look very different, because you won't have any extensions installed. So we can install extensions here. You can see a few that I installed. Power Platform Tools is the Power Platform CLI that is mentioned in the prerequisites. If we click here, that's the Power Platform logo. We can see the auth profiles we are connected to, Right now, I am only connected to my developer subscription, and we can also see our environments and solutions down here. So if we click on the arrow here, we can, I mean, it's loading kind of forever, but we can also see all the apps and solutions that exist. As you can see, it's spinning, but now you can see all the solutions and apps. So we are still waiting until GitHub Copilot Pro is doing its work. In the meantime, I can show you what I played around with the last couple of days and weeks. I just need to see if the app is still running or if I need to reload, and if it is also timed out or not. Right now, my connection seems really slow. But let me quickly tell you one more thing. So I questioned myself if it is possible to build a game inside of Code Apps and run it in my Power Platform environment. And what I did was I built a street racing game, and you can see that I can use it right now. My connection seems really slow. Looking that good, but as you can see, there is a game running and built with Code Apps in like 5 minutes. I will go back and see what my GitHub Copilot Pro buddy is doing. Up here, we can see all the files that were created. It's still thinking, but I will show you another cool thing in my point of view that was built by GitHub Copilot Pro. Just need to find the right tab. The prompt I used for that app was really long, and it was for sure over the 4K limit. So in that case, I wouldn't be possible to build it with powerapps.com. But it's a Copilot adoption gamification app. So as we can see, there are some quests I could finish. We have a library down here where I can show more. I could also help others. So I can say I share the prompt, and I just type whatever in here, as we can see, there is a 10 characters minimum limit. So when I'm not typing in 10 characters, it shows 0 of 10, and it counts up. So I can say log help, and then I can see that 25 points EXP was added to my account. I can see the stats down here. It also shows the streak details and also how long my streak lasts and how long my longest streak was. Also, you can implement some badges. I did not really go down that deep in this point of view. So right now, there are no badges available. But let me go back. As you can see, for the help part, the 25 EXP points were not added. So that was only a one-shot prompt. I only prompted one big prompt and threw it in there. And from that prompt alone, I received what you can see here. So when I'm going back to library, or let's do, I think that should work at least in the last few tries it did. So I'm simply typing whatever. I could also optionally paste the link in here. There are also some text down here, but I say complete quest, and hopefully I should see 26 EXP. So as we can see, today is Monday. I received 26 EXP points. There are also my total EXP points over here. It says how many quests I completed, and it also says which level I am in. So down here, the level progress, it says I need 47 EXP points to reach level 2. So it is kind of a gamified approach for Copilot adoption, but with only one prompt, it really is a good thing. So I think it kind of stuck right here, but I also let us simply try one thing. So let's pause it. Let's tell him it should continue. Maybe it does work. Let's wait a few more minutes and see what it is doing. Now it's all it's reading through all the files. But I prepared a backup version of this. If it is not working in the next 1 or 2 minutes, I will simply show you the outcome. In the prepared version. In the meantime, we could jump back to this overview. So we also already talked about the prerequisites, but we can also have a look at the key features that are included. So if you are using CodeApps, you get the Microsoft Entra authentication and authorization. You can connect to all the data sources and also to all the connectors It is kind of easy to publish and host because it is running inside of your Power Platform environment. Right now, I just saw that my Copilot did all the stuff. So let's run the developer thing and have a look at the work that GitHub Copilot Pro did for us. So we are now running it on the local host, but you should also let's see if my connection is strong enough. If you are running the developer environment or developer localhost thing, or also the build thing, you can also paste it or write it into your GitHub Copilot Pro instead of into the terminal, because in cases that there are errors, we can use the advantages. So right now it says it found 14 errors. Let's see if GitHub Copilot is able to work through them. So let's see if it fixed everything. Looks like now everything looks fine. Let's see if it is also possible to push it to your or to my Power Platform environment. In the meantime, looking at my time left, I will show you one of the outcomes of my preparation. So this was built with GitHub Copilot Pro in kind of 10 minutes. When I did everything, it worked better because my connection was good. So what I did here is I took a simple room plan or office plan I found online in a Google search. I uploaded it to GitHub Copilot Pro and told it that it should also recreate the room structure and just put a plan into my app. I have 2 floors, and as you can see, it's a bit different. Unfortunately, I'm not able to reserve the toilet for working from there. But yeah, as you can see, all rooms are available right now because the border is green. Down here you have a legend that says green is available. In use is red. Right now there is no room in use because all the borders are green. And I selected the meeting room 3 right now, selected this blue. I could book the room now. So let's say from 7:30 until 10, meeting demo. Then I can confirm the booking. And now you can see if someone else wants to book, it's not possible to select that room because it has a red border and is also showing a sign where people cannot click. So if I'm choosing this, you can see that it is working, but right now I'm clicking. You cannot hear, but yeah. That was one outcome of my previous ones. I hope that I was able to show you a few demos about different ways how you can build your apps in the future. Right now, I'm just looking back at the other thing.
So, yeah, really cool and really interesting impressions from you. But so if an user take a look on this, what do you think? Which roles are which of the solution? I saw code apps. Do you think is this someone for a power user, or do you see it's only who someone who knows as an to work as an full stack developer?
In my point of view, the future could be heading in different ways. So, you really need at least basic knowledge about GitHub, how GitHub works, how you can commit, how you can push, how you can work with GitHub and VS Code basically. But it's like I do not have any pro code background, like I mentioned, and I was able to get to a state where I can develop a few nice things. In my point of view, code apps is nothing for beginners because it really creates code. In the best way is that you can at least understand the code that it is generating and also being able to read it, because when it is giving you any kind of bugs or errors, you can find it, you can rewrite it by your own. So like I said, in my point of view, the future is going into different directions. Maybe you're working in a team of 2 or 3 people. So there is someone that is the prompt expert. This person is setting up the initial prompt and thinking about everything related so that AI can work with it. So prompt engineering would be a good thing to learn in my point of view. And then there are maybe 1 or 2 other pro code developing guys or women. I'm really supporting women also in the journey into Power Platform and stuff like that. So it's not really a male thing, right? So, but and then maybe the prompt guy or girl maybe can just give it to the pro code person, and he can work through it and just have a look at the code and if there are some parts that can be reworked. But for sure, in my point of view, code apps is nothing for a total beginner. It's more or less for really advanced people, or at least people with a good amount of knowledge in stuff like I mentioned right now, right? So the white power app thing, it's nice, but the plan designer is kind of the same. And we also have the app agent in the M365 Copilot stack. I wasn't able to show it today because in my developer environment, I do not have an M365 Copilot license, and I'm not in the Frontier program with my developer environment. But the M365 Copilot app agent, there you can simply create also an app that is based on SharePoint. This can be used by anybody kind of. So there are from no code kind of to low code, and then to vibe code and pro code. So it's kind of a never-ending learning journey for whoever is interested in.
Do you think regarding to PowerFX, it has a future, or would be all the stuff more and more going to vibe coding, and there's no out of the box dev like PowerFX in the future?
Yeah, it's hard to say, or it's hard for me to say, because like I mentioned, I'm really a Canvas apps kind of guy. So I started with Power Automate basically, but then jumped really quickly to Canvas apps and PowerFX and stuff like that. So I really love writing code in PowerFX. But I think the future is not really bright on this. So in my point of view, it really goes towards React and TypeScript things. So in my point of view, it could be a good time right now to dive also into at least basic knowledge of understanding what web code is giving you back. So yeah, I won't say that there is a bright future for Canvas apps and also PowerFX. I was really surprised that I saw a new feature yesterday or 2 days ago in Canvas apps, the Canvas apps cards. From my understanding was, it was mentioned that ignited low code is dead, right? So I didn't expect that Canvas apps receive new features, but it's still alive, and it will be alive for the next few time, because a lot of companies are on the Canvas apps train, and they really have big Canvas apps running. So in my point of view, it's not possible for Microsoft to turn them off tomorrow. So you do not have to be afraid that they are gone in like no time, but it's now or maybe never to start looking into new ways to develop apps.
Really, really cool. So I want to say thank you. It was a really good session and a really nice overview. You talked with Andrew Hess, correct?
Sorry?
Or what you said, do you talk with Andrew Hess or what did you said at the start? Because Andrew Hess was in our show and has on the M365 show and shows nearly the same stuff on his side, but with other examples.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Or I didn't understand this right at the start. I think you thought, did you talk with someone?
No, I'm really exchanging a lot kind of with Josh and Charlie about code apps.
Yeah, okay.
That was also the YouTube channel that I posted in the chat, so people can follow along.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really, really good. So yeah, this is the end of our first day, the Power Platform stage. I think it was really, really interesting sessions here around about the Power Platform. Tomorrow we start with Gökhan Ochichi with SharePoint Agents topic. Yeah, and 12 other sessions in some 12 sessions. So I really had it about this, and we see us tomorrow. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.